Um.
Well, it's a slow week, huh? Oh, I don't know if we're gonna find enough shit to talk about on the podcast.
Well, let's start here. Hey, Boos. We need to put a shutdown on real human beings in fighting games until we can figure out what the fuck is going on. We need to just put a moratorium on the entire process of human beings and in fighting games until
you know what?
we can assess the situation and verify what the fuck is happening. I think that's where we can start.
So the past couple of days, you and Punch Mom and Reggie came over and hung out, and you stayed the night, and you were a wonderful guest, and I was so glad to have you. And it was very, very endearing.
Thank you for hosting.
To see all three of you spend like a good portion of your time trying to be the first one to endear yourself to that fucked up little dog, and he turned around on all of you because he was scared, and he loved you all, and that was very sweet. But it is a great thing to start with here in fighting games and real people, because that was the first thing you started to talk about coming into the house. You did a little dance.
I sure did. Do you remember the lyrics to the dance?
They put a rapist in Mark of the Wolves.
Something to that effect. Yeah.
Very similar to that.
That was kind of how that went. Yeah. It's
right,
not
like in the door. Hey, Paige. Hey, baby. Hey, dog. Hey, cat. Ah, shit. Fucking what the fuck?
Yeah. I think it was something along the lines of, they put a rapist in Mark of the Wolves. Something like that.
That was it.
Something like that.
I didn't have quite the tune to it.
Yep. That's what they did. That's what, allegedly.
I think.
Look, I don't think it's great. Okay. It's not great when I don't know who the second person that got announced was, and I have to Google the name, and then I also am like, should I press spacebar and type allegations just in case? You know?
Just in case. So I think I can actually boil down the Ronaldo, soccer man, alleged, probable, let's be real, rapist, being a real human being being put into a fighting game that we were interested in. I can break this whole controversy down into like a single interaction I had in chat talking about this. I think it was yesterday, but it might have been the day before, where he kicks the soccer ball really good. This is a truth that is unmitigated, that everybody knows he kicked the soccer ball really good.
One of the most famous human beings on planet Earth.
Yeah. So I mentioned the other day that we had discussed and how you walked in going, oh my God, I can't believe they put a rapist in Mark of the Wolves.
Allegedly.
And my chat went, huh? What? And then before I could even get into it, someone went, oh yeah, Ronaldo. Period.
Yeah.
Like,
which people are hearing
that
this.
Is like
yeah,
the whole discussion.
Yeah, and I guess folks are similarly confused, as were myself and Reggie upon seeing that, because you see that and you go, Saudi Arabia, yes, okay, all right, we're doing the whole bit, and we like for a while. I remember when it was kind of like, okay, so they say that their creative decisions are still going to be in the hands of the people that are making the things, and nothing's going to get handed down on an edict, and then you're like, well, that sure seems like it when he's got a contract with them and his likeness and team and everything are now associated. And then, this current like confusion with this new character that just got announced an hour ago aside.
I didn't even know there was one.
Oh, okay, because there's a second one. So, but the first one was just like, that's confusing and goofy, but okay, whatever. I guess that's what they're doing, and soccer, the humongous football player will get eyeballs on the game. So that's the move. That's
totally true.
That's the play that they're making. And then immediately a message came in going, yeah, shame about those allegations though. And it's like, what? Oh no.
And so like, hey, you know what my favorite part about this is that I was like, you know what, I'm talking about this, I should double check just to make sure. And I type in the guy's name and allegations, and not only do I get the first batch of allegations, I get the second court case about the hush money he paid to make the first court case go away.
Yeah, I saw someone.
And I'm like, oh wow, wow.
So I saw a screenshot of like, hey, his win quote just dropped, and it was the quote of the thing he said to his lawyer that then was posted in the story about what he did, and that was dropped, and it was like, Jesus fucking Christ. So that doesn't sound great. That doesn't sound great at all. That sounds pretty bad.
I think I agree that we should maybe not put. Hey, let's just stop. This is a stance that I've taken for a long time. If you don't know somebody in your personal life well, you should just not look up to them ever.
I mean, that's the most zoomed out take you could have.
That is my zoomed out take.
That's the most zoomed out take you can have, and that's fine.
I want to grow up to be a cool football player like O.J. Simpson. Or
hold on.
I saw the
you saw the Naked Gun trailer?
Yeah, where they just go,
fuck me. I watched that Naked Gun trailer. Okay, I watched the Naked Gun sidebar. I watched the Naked Gun trailer, and I was like, okay, I see the angle here. Liam Neeson's pretty funny. Sure, that's fine. And the last 2 seconds of that thing got me and went, oh.
Yeah, well, yeah, it really did. It's excellent.
The last 2 seconds actually got me laughing. So well played to the 2025 teaser for the new Naked Gun movie.
Yeah, I don't think you should. I think that maybe we should not put real people in.
Okay, but yeah, I was gonna say if we could just zoom in a little bit and just pare it down to something much more simple, much more easy at that point, and at the very least, just like and if there's no way to avoid this, can we do some background checks? Can we figure out what the fuck's going on? Can we just can we?
That wouldn't do anything because everybody knew.
Yes,
everybody
of course.
knew.
No, the people who are super down for it are, in fact, they've got their own shit going on, clearly, right?
I foresee a very interesting cultural dialogue in the FGC about this character. And when I was talking to my chat about it, I'm like, if you want a preview of the back and forth that's going to happen around City of the Wolves and competition and the character and whatnot, just travel back in time a little bit and go read any argument or in-person discussion about whether or not you should let infiltration compete at your tournament.
Right.
And the back and forth of, yo, fuck that guy, versus, yeah, I don't care, I just want good fight game. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, and of course, the entire discussion, about slow ownership over SNK that we've been talking about for a while ago as well. And then there's events that happen over there, and people go over, and then some folks are like, I'm not comfortable with that, and it's becoming more and more unavoidable, I'd say, at every turn.
Absolutely.
I feel like also at the same time, back then there was the percentage ownership thing that they had, and then kind of now that number has increased across all video game companies. Any games that you like, there's an ownership number that is starting at 10% up to 40, up to, in some cases, way above that. With ownership over or shares that they've bought and stuff. So it's it's just everywhere, right? On a sidebar. But with this, I just remember we're okay, that's nuts, and then you're like, oh the way things have been going, there's also this like distinct possibility that because balancing stuff has been it's insane at first and then getting toned down afterwards because of the second beta, there's a decent chance that he might also be really high tier, which means you might see a top 8 that has a whole lot of Ronaldos in it potentially. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but like, I was
talking like the cool thing for SNK to do would be to make him really bad on purpose.
I mean, that would be interesting.
Like,
right?
That would be like, well, we put him in. We didn't want to, but we put him in.
So there's a couple. My mind's racing because I can't keep. I'm losing track of all these like logs and lines to. But one was catching wind that or hearsay that there's definitely the decision for him to be in there, as well as what's going on now, is coming from above Oda's head. So it's coming from above the
no shit,
and that's definitely a no-brainer. There's the God, what was the other thing? The fact that it's baseline roster means that if somebody wanted to say like, I go like, well, I'm not going to buy that DLC, or I don't want that, I don't want him on the roster,
he's
or
base
whatever.
Roster,
it's included in, which also makes sense because you're not trying to the people, the world that you're trying to appeal to with a giant football player is going to not really be about spending extra money for DLC necessarily. You're going to want to just have that in the baseline roster to advertise the game anyway. Plus,
holy shit, this new character looks terrible.
So,
oh my god. Sorry, I just saw him.
Okay, so yes, Mr. President, a second real human being has hit City of the Wolves. I repeat, a second real person has hit the roster of Garo.
Oh, that's a real person?
Yeah.
Oh, he looks terrible. Oh my god.
So there's 2 trailers. There's the reveal one like last time, and then there's the gameplay footage, and it's Salvatore Ganacci, a DJ, and nobody really can figure it out. About an hour ago they just dropped it, and it's like, hey, Salvatore Ganacci's in the game and is going to be a fully playable character and everything. I think 2 weeks ago they announced some collaborative artists they're working with, and he was one of them. But then from there to playable character, I'm like, I don't know how or why, but here we are. The first thing that would strike my mind again is what something like this is like. If you're working with a DJ, wouldn't you immediately go like, let's make a big stage that's taking place at a concert that he's holding, and put some of his music in the game, and have it be like, oh, every time you load in that stage, a set list will play, and you'll have him in the background playing the music and reacting to the fights, and the whole thing is just an elaborate. He performs
regularly in Saudi Arabia, and he's a friend of the royal family.
Yeah, so
he's literally just their buddy.
So that's the bit, right? You're like,
that's so fucking funny. That's so fucking funny. Oh man,
could have been that way, but that's not the way it's going.
Holy shit!
Wow. So,
I've never seen, because you'll say like, oh, put your foot on the scale, like, is the boss, messing with it, and like this is like. This is like, my friend's little brother wants to be in the fighting tournament. Yeah, put him in. And make sure he wins.
Unavoidably so, it seems.
This is crazy.
And so the nutso part. So you said something last time too, which is like, or when during the first beta, where it was like, if the game was bad while the net play was bad and matchmaking was bad, then it would be easy to just kind of like write it off. So the second beta came out, and it dropped while we were out there, and hey, guess what? The game's amazing. The game's amazing. The gameplay is
the matchmaking's great tight now, and the online is super good.
So the first day of matchmaking was a bit rough, and then they switched the switch in the first couple hours, and then matchmaking got good, and then they included the training mode, they included versus offline, and they included T-Zoc as well. And yeah, it's like, I mean, I'm going to quote Reggie here. He's like, this is the most interesting defensive game that's been released in the last 20 years in fighting games. It's doing a whole lot, and it's really well thought out as a game that feels like an old school fighter, but still has newer mechanics in it. It has a lot for you.
It's great.
it has a lot for you on defense and it has a lot for you on offense, and it's very rewarding to like go all in on like these moves linking into each other and such versus just defending or like hyper defense is this other type of thing. There's so much going on. It's really really sick.
You need good defense with Ronaldo on the roster.
Wah, wah. There you go. And so that's the thing that you get is like they really thought about it, and it's being designed as a proper like Garo 2, you know? It's not half-assed. It just seems like there's going to be a like section of it that you're like, this is the actual game. And then there's this layer of, on top of that
the end of that discussion is like we had this long and back and forth. It's like, yeah, tons of people don't care about this shit at all, any of it at all, right?
Yeah.
And we like our audience like is like I would say our audience is like, or audiences, depending on how you want to split it, it's like significantly more progressive than the internet at large.
For sure.
So we're gonna run into I just saw it scroll by a lot of people who are going like, I am not touching this game with a 10-foot pole. And it's never been easier to go, yeah, okay.
I get it, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for sure, I mean, and I would say too that, you know, there's a huge difference in vibes from just like, okay, there's the trailer that gets released. You can go see feedback on that. There's, you know, any other FGC content creator at this channel, and then the feedback, and then the amount of discussing that happens there. And then with us, it's much higher concentrated in that regard, you know?
Absolutely.
In no small part due to the fact that like I think we openly talk about this shit. We have pretty candid conversations over the years about a lot of it, so folks are pretty used to that, and people that are much more I guess, you know, aware of or in tune with and concerned about things like that are going to be around. So
I think
to just echo your statement, yeah, when folks are like, yeah, I'm out, I'm like, what am I supposed to say?
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I
think somebody made a great point going by where it's like there's a subtype of person who is out now that the DJ is in, but not when the soccer player is in. And that is a highly specified cross-section of tastes that needs to be studied. Listen,
fascinating.
I can abide a lot of things, but that new character looks bad. So
yeah, I did see I did see some of that too. I did see some of that. Yeah, man. You know, You're not going to see me trying to change anyone's opinion on that, certainly.
Oh, I've never wanted to change someone's opinion less talking about a game.
That being and the wild part that is like, yo, we even got some sets in at your place, and
yep, and they were great. They were incredible.
Game's great, feels really fun. It's the sequel I've wanted for 24 years. You know, like I just you know. But I mean, listen, this episode in general, we're going to be talking about fighting games and Nintendo. There's a whole lot of that going on.
There was a moment talking about Garo, and you pulled out. So I had recently pulled out an old arcade stick that you had made me ages ago, and you were remarking on its wonderful craftsmanship, right, and how gorgeous it was. And I was talking about like how I'm gonna play games with the boy, right? And you said to me, you don't even know if this kid is gonna be into video games, right? And I put the stick down, and the kid runs over to it and grabs the stick and starts banging on the buttons and trying to pick the stick off the floor and leave with it. And it's like, nah, man, nah.
Let's go.
As soon as he saw me touch the fucking thing, all of a sudden he's like, ah. So you know what I found out? You know what he was trying to do? He's trying to pull the stick apart. He wants the red ball. He wants the top of the stick.
The ball top on it.
Because he told me the day after you guys left, he pointed at it, went ball, and started trying to pull it off.
And I was saying, like, when he put his hands on it, I was like, yo, get that grip proper, you know, start getting that 360 ready. Awesome. Okay.
Also,
that's a great first reaction to never see it.
I have to thank you extraordinarily. I've told this story before, but me and Paige, when we moved in, there was this wonderful little table built into one of the parts of our kitchen, but it was so low Like it was built into the floor. It was so low that it's actually hard to sit at because it would like pinch your legs. And it turns all we needed was a helpful big man.
You needed a big man
to come and help me lift it. And Wooly, you have now lifted our kitchen table, and our kitchen table is now easy to sit at. And we have been so happy about it. Thank you very much.
You just needed
that was really great for being a big man to help me.
Look at that. All you needed was a big man.
Sometimes you just need a big man around the house, And yeah.
Yeah. What was the ad? Two sturdy dudes or two sturdy?
There's a moving company out here called Two Burly Men.
Two Burly Men.
Yeah, they move your stuff and then they fuck you. It's a. Have you seen the ad where they're standing next
I'm pretty sure I
remember
a Bear Bara energy ad with shirtless burly men just going, sometimes you just need two burly men.
Sometimes you just need, and it's like, what is this? Oh, it's for moving things. Right, okay.
Anyway, so yeah, so that's going on. I did make it out to Vancouver. And I guess the first thought I had pulling up to the city was, this is Toronto with mountains behind it.
Absolutely.
Because the condo skyline and then going into it, I'm like, oh, yeah, this feels identical to being downtown at Yonge and Dundas or Bloor or any of those spots and just being endlessly enveloped in giant construction condos. But the mountains behind them were nice. And
I'll tell you what, people around here do not like the description of Toronto plus mountains.
I'm sure they won't, but I'm just being honest. But I will say, upon closer inspection of said mountains, I was like, oh, those mountains are pretty.
They're very pretty.
Yeah. So
plus 200 days of rain a year.
Yeah, a whole lot of rain, actually. Like that was
if you flip a coin, it is more likely to land on rain than any other weather.
I did not know that was a thing.
And you know what? That's great. You know what the rain has, Wooly? It has sun blocking powers, so I can go outside without fear.
Right. Okay. So I mean, yeah, I did. I was like, okay, this is definitely mountainy, fresh air. That was cool. I will also say pretty good Asian cuisine.
You would fucking hope so.
Yeah. Given the population, that would
be fucking crazy.
It would be crazy if it wasn't.
As shit.
But it was very legit, as recommended by one Justin Wong. So went out there, and first thing was the Red Bull Kumite. So shout outs to them for the Red Bull Kumite Canadian qualifiers. Did some commentary with Justin Wong and Rooflemonger. Had a good time, yucking it up. Did some... I'm sure at some point something will pop up, but did some dumb, like, straight for social media, straight for TikTok, like quiz type videos and challenges and stuff. So we'll see where those go, including some like Justin had some extreme difficulty challenges where we played for a bit. So we'll see how it goes. But it was fun to do some commentary with, and overall a pretty hype event. It was a part of the Battle of BC, which is a BC tournament. And then the winner of that, Safe, who won, a Canadian player, will get flown out to Paris for a chance to enter the Red Bull Last Chance qualifier to get a spot in the Kumite. So it's this whole gauntlet. But did an incredible job. Shout outs to Safe and Riddles and Zycles, the other Canadian strong players, and Chris CCH, who came up from the States as well. A really good Ed. Also met Jordy 2D, a Fortnite and Marvel Rivals influencer. Shot a couple things with them as well. And surprise, out of nowhere, one Gerald Lee from Corey Gaming
Gerald was there,
popped over and did a talk for an esports conference, and it just happened to be happening at the same time. So just like that. I was like,
awesome.
Oh shit, there you are, IRL. That's cool. Yeah, if only I had the prescient knowledge, I would have been like, let me pick your brain about what's going on in Tekken 8, buffs over nerfs. But we'll get to that in a second, because I feel like that video is getting...
I'm excited because like I'm
dragged.
watching. People are like, you see what's happening with Tekken? I'm like, oh, I talked about it with Wooly. There's a bad patch. What could other be happening? Overwhelmingly negative on Steam. What the fuck? How bad could this patch be? It's
a bit of a doozy. And I think also I think his video is getting dragged. I think a little unfairly because people are taking the worst interpretation of it. But well, anyway, we'll get into Tekken later. There's a whole lot going on with fighting games. But the Kumite was cool. And yeah, I mean, obviously, again, thanks for hosting over at your place.
You are welcome. You and Punch Mom and Reggie are welcome. Anytime you're in this neck of the woods, just come on by. There's always a bed ready for y'all.
It's quite nice. And yeah, it was cozy.
Hey, I'd like to apologize. So of all the people, I did not expect this to happen, but Reggie left his door open. And what happened is that Elmo got in there.
Oh, yeah, you warned.
And Elmo, like, kept his ass up for hours because Elmo demands pets. And Reggie was like, he was willing to oblige.
Yeah.
And that was really sweet. And like eventually he like pretended to be asleep until the cat got bored and left. So that's like a sweet story. However, later that day, you like touched the cat and then touched your face and then exploded.
So that's the thing is like Boosie is like at first nervous and then like shuffles away and has his butt in your face, but then afterwards chills on the couch and is totally fine.
And becomes like a doll.
Yeah, so I just sat there and scritched him for a while and he was totally chill. But Elmo, on the other hand, yeah, Reggie was like, oh yeah, sure, let him in. And then, you gave us the heads up that the Boosie is in Little Boosie, as in
Little Boosie
Caboose, Little Boosie. Get the
yeah, it's Little Boosie Man.
And so letting Elmo into the room is the results in. I think you described it as him going ah.
Yeah, just like
after
constantly.
You stop paying attention, and And so that was funny. But yeah, no, sat on Elmo's couch, on Elmo's throne for a minute. And then I think, just touching my eye, and then my eye swole the fuck up. And it
was crazy. I did not know you were allergic to cats.
So I have a cat allergy, but it has not acted up in a long time. The last time it acted up was at a friend's place who has like 3 cats and has been living that way for 20 plus years, and it's just been like the dander is in the air when you inhale, and like she had to give me cat pills the whole time, and I was right, but one is usually quite fine.
So we didn't think this would be a problem because Elmo is like a long fluffy cat and they tend to be hypoallergenic, but we forget Elmo is insane and eats chunks of his own fur off his body for fun. So there's patches on that cat that are just bare, which means there's nothing to stop the dander from leaking onto any particular surface.
And I didn't know as well. So when you do the allergy test, they stick you with a bunch and then you see the bumps and you go, oh, these bumps are the ones that are the worst, therefore you're allergic to that.
Yeah.
And mine always reacted. But I didn't know that, like, I know when an allergy is going off, like your nose and your eyes get itchy as a side effect kind of thing.
Yeah,
but the idea that like touching the surface of the eyeball is the same as the surface of the skin is just I didn't connect that would be a thing, because it's almost like it's almost like, okay, like if you touch your skin, it bubbles up. All right, imagine touching your nail and then your nail bubbles, or you touch your hair and then your hair bubbles.
Your eyeball is all that sensitive meat.
Yeah, so because it feels like your eyeball is like it feels like your eyeball is almost like your teeth, or it's like enamel or something. It's like a different part of your body.
It's meat.
So yeah, it's a soft tissue and it's way more sensitive, and so as a result, my eye started to swell up with a like pus sack, and
it was crazy.
It was protruding.
It was nuts.
Yeah, you undersold it. You were kind of like, oh yeah, you know. But like when I looked in the mirror and then like Punch Mom saw it and everything, I was like, no, that's really scary.
You gotta remember, I live with Paige. My threshold for "nah, you're good" is different from the regular household.
But what it was there was like basically like there was the iris, and then the eyeball next to it was doing like a bump. You know, it was sticking out, and then there was fluid in it.
Fine, it's just a little cat juice.
Yeah, well, I mean, it turns out that I guess like, you know, with the Benadryl, thank you, Paige. You know, like and I guess some time and some eye drops. It does go down, and you know, later on that day, it was massively reduced, and there was a moment of being like, "Do we gotta go somewhere?" Or,
nah, it's fine.
You know. But yes, I will be certainly much more alert about sitting in.
Main thing is about not touching your face. That's the number one.
Yeah, it was, you know, it was a little like vibrating like chair thing with heat, and I was like, ooh, I could warm up and try that out, and I got Elmo's Revenge, so it was cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, I guess not much beyond that.
So what's going on with your week? Well, I mean, you did the Kumite and you hung out.
Yeah.
You played Mark City of the Wharves.
That boy's coming along strong.
Aw, isn't he cute?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're in the yes phase where everything is yes. Doesn't mean it. Doesn't know what he's saying yes to. But just like, hey, man, you want to overthrow the government? Yeah.
Should the workers seize the means of production? Yeah.
Just say yes to anything. It's fucking hilarious.
So yeah, that was cool, and yeah, beyond that, what? Okay, so I was gonna touch on how insane and busted T-Zok was. He's busted, he's
but
bugged and crazy.
He'll never. That's not gonna stay.
No, he can Izuna drop you while you're on the ground.
That's like
multiple times in a row.
Test level broken.
Accidentally at that. So yeah, there's no way for sure that's gonna stay.
But he's fun to play. That's what really matters.
Yeah, and it's interesting that like he's fun and he's also different from King of Dinosaurs, which is his heel persona in King of Fighters.
Yeah,
I love the idea of there being like it's the same human being, but depending on which series he's in,
which mask.
Yeah, then he changes his whole persona up, and he, you know, does more dinosaur moves or more griffin moves. Versatile as a wrestler. Anyway, while I was on the plane, was listening to that. I talked about a podcast with Argo Tulik, one of the writers of Disco Elysium, and one of the founding folks that you know was friends with Martin Luiga and Robert Kurvitz, the original Overcoats, as the group was named back in the day. It's really interesting to hear about behind the scenes about how that game came to be, and the you know, the kind of like just kids skipping school to hang out in Estonian cafes, smoking cigarettes when you're way too young, and writing a D&D campaign where you're like, regular D&D is boring and not interesting. Let's make some real shit, and designing the world of Elysium. You know, it's a really interesting listening. I'm not done it so far. It's very long. It's like some 9 hours or some. It's really crazy. But going part way through it, I can definitely say if you're interested in that stuff, it's worth checking out. It's called The Human Can Opener, and there's 3 parts to it. Little things like he kind of pointed out that like some people caught on to the fact that like disco, even though it's written and used in the word in the sense of the game and described as like a, you know, it's an attitude, it's an era, it's a time that we all remember. It's also Latin for I learn. And
I did not know that.
Therefore, Disco Elysium is kind of a way of saying, this is the beginning of learning about the world of Elysium. That's what that title actually implies, you know. Yeah, it's quite cool. And anyway, just other little tidbits. all of which come into play this week, as well as some very pertinent disco news dropped. So we'll get into that in the weeks too. But yeah, definitely an interesting thing to listen to as well. And I'll check back in certainly once I'm through with it. Beyond that, I mean, there's just too much other shit to go into with the weeks, so I'll just call it there.
All right. So on my end,
wait. Sorry. Blah. Before that, Cyberpunk started Phantom Liberty. That's awesome. That's really cool. Phantom Liberty has a nice intro sequence that does it really does the most to like immerse you in that setting, because I didn't realize until I was in it, but like it kind of, there's a soft lead in to the DLC. It's like an area of the map, and then you get to a market and you walk through a cyberpunk market while a bunch of people are holding up their wares and everyone's got stuff to sell you. And I kind of realized, I'm like, oh shit, this is your Demolition Man going down underground and seeing the right. This is your arriving at the town in Fallout and looking at the from the top view, looking down at the marketplace, the town square. And any setting, especially a cyberpunk or post-apocalyptic setting, Star Wars, all these things, when you show a marketplace and commerce happening, that's such a strong establishing thing that says so much about life, what people are eating, how they're living,
how much is it being sold for, what's the currency,
exactly, how they're like, whether violence is a part of that, who are the authorities, what are the dynamics and interpersonal things where are a bunch of guards that are getting paid coming down and getting bribed, or are people on their own settling it? Is someone going to turn their head and go back to their drink if someone gets shot behind them, or are they going to freak out? Like, there's so much to learn from these like marketplace establishing moments, and Cyberpunk has one, and it's fantastic. It's great. I kind of didn't know I was missing it until this DLC did that. And it actually lets you take your time going through it as long as you want to. Like, it's pointing you towards like a critical path, but you could just walk circles around this upper and lower level, learn more about what is essentially a stronghold, which is a group that basically took a football stadium and locked it down as their own secure spot, away from corporate influence, or at the very least shielded against their complete takeover. It's really cool. So that all kind of bleeds in to an explosive, insane, your job is to protect the president mission. And the way that all
full on Escape from New York.
I mean, like full on, and then with some Air Force One get off my plane, going on there too. And yeah, it's also sick to see alongside that introduction with a cool escort mission. It feels like it's an escort mission where a charismatic like character that you're hanging out with is not a chore to walk next to, and you get the unlock of the DLC abilities, which are just adding some great powers to whatever style of play you want. So if you're doing melee, you get some really cool rewards for melee in particular. Always love that. Feels a lot like the boosts in Elden Ring, right? You have your ghost, I forgot what they're called, but secondary DLC strengtheners, and like, sure enough, you come across at some point, there is a fucking spider tank, and everything you would want to occur with that spider tank based on Ghost in the Shell occurs. They understand the assignment and they deliver. So far that DLC is fucking great, and I have yet to even meet Susie or Idris Elba. Very strong.
I'm so excited to see if Susie runs you over with her car.
Well, I've heard that threat from day one of the game, so we'll see what happens. But ever since people started writing that in the beginning, I'm on the lookout for cars that are gonna QTE me or just come out of nowhere, so we'll see. But yes, Cyberpunk continues, and this week as well we're going to take a look at Venom in Guilty Gear Strive, so that's going to be popping up on Get Into Fighting Games on Saturday. All right. Yeah, all right. That's Wooly Versus.
So what's going on with me? The kid's in the yes phase. He's adorable. He's the best ever. I have a minor piece of Jimothy news. That would be a Jimmy-based piece of information. Mm-hmm. So last week I described the hilarious message that Jimmy sent me weeks prior that I missed. And the new news, which you can find out more details on Paige's recent Nintendo Direct stream, where she went into the Jimmy updates afterwards, is that we did not know this, but Jimmy is the admin of our local neighborhood D&D and mini painting Facebook group and kicked her out. And is now demanding an apology for her blocking him on Facebook.
The unabridged story as told around a really nice charcuterie spread, by the way. Good stuff.
Oh yeah, it was nice, wasn't it?
Appreciate that. It's quite wild. The details as told on podcast are wild, and the full thing, of course, is just woo.
So there's way
it continues.
More. There's way more detail that I'm not even gonna bother going into, because Paige talked about this for like an hour on her recent stream. So you can go check that out over at Peach Saliva. It's the Nintendo Direct 2 stream. It's the back half and the Jimmy updates. But yeah, no, she has now been frozen out of the primary form of communication in our neighborhood because she blocked him because he was sending creepy messages to me. And she was like, I don't want to get creepy messages from fucking After Hours Jimmy. And so we're navigating this situation now. On the other hand, we went to D&D and had the first post Jimmy D&D.
Okay, because I left off with the
we were going the next day. I think.
With it the next day, correct?
Yeah, and guess what? It was awesome. It was fucking great.
It was fun.
It was the best game of D&D I ever played. Paige said it was the best D&D game she ever played, and we're just sitting around going, "Holy fucking shit!"
Yeah,
it literally just was all Jimmy. All negative things in those sessions were Jimmy times.
I also just want to take
crazy.
I think an important factor too to mention here, because I remember when we were recapping it for Reggie as well, and it's like there's an important stinger to just keep aware of, which is every one of these sessions is with the cost of a babysitter for the night.
Oh yeah, it's like you pay the babysitter to go down to D&D. So I gotta sit here and deal with this bullshit.
There is an investment in making sure that these are fun nights, because holy shit, it takes time and planning and cost. It's not just random whatever,
So the D&D is going great, though. Now on the larger thing, we're now managing people us going like, well, how are we gonna get back in? And people go, well, he's having a hard time, and he's emotional, and all this gentle hands BC non-confrontational nonsense. Though I will say, somebody in one of the comments that we saw recently really did put it into perspective, which is it's amazing what people will tolerate in a D&D or Warhammer group from the guy who has a 3D printer. Like, it is astonishing the level of bad behavior they will tolerate from the one guy who has a 3D printer.
Oh Oh man. Yeah, what are you gonna do? You know, hard time. Well, he's got the fucking printer, dude. Yeah, that's funny. That's good, right?
Yeah, like I said, you can go check out Paige's recent Nintendo Direct stream for more details.
Sidebar on what you said about the you know the BC soft hands bit, but out here, gentle hands. Well, out here seeing as well the amount of just like there's a whole lot of gluten-free and health adjacent like choices in stores that like I was like, y'all got this, you got it like this, you know.
Yeah, man.
That kind of explained to as well, where some folks I know from BC,
you gotta get rid of the gluten, you gotta get rid of the fluoride, you can't have that stuff.
So some folks I know from BC are very, very, very particular about like their choices of things, and coming down here they were like, I can't eat, I can't do anything, and I was like, it's not that bad, and then I was like, oh, because out here it's like this. Okay, I see. Yeah, there's a variety of
there's a vibe.
Granola.
Good vibes only.
There's a granola vibe.
The little spirit provides. The gluten and fluoride are the enemy. Did I tell you that I was in my dentist's office and she's like, yeah, you look good, no problem. And I could overhear the dentist, you know, like the there's nothing that blocks the two you know, kiosks or whatever the fuck you. And I was listening to an older woman be told by the other dentist, ma'am, if you do not start using fluoride, every single tooth is going to fall out of your head.
Oh man, you got it.
And the phrase that came out of her mouth was, well, me and my husband don't believe in fluoride.
Okay, well, yeah.
And the dentist's like, ma'am, every single one of your teeth is about to go. Yeah. And she's like, I guess I'll talk to my husband about it, but I don't know.
Well, what I believe manifests into reality, right? That's the way things work. Obviously, I'm not talking to anyone who's actually celiac, you know, if they've got a gluten allergy proper.
No one's ever met anyone with celiac disease.
Just, you know, but yeah, that's a vibe. That is a vibe. Fuck. Damn. Might be time to invest in a 3D printer.
Yeah, oh man, wouldn't that be?
Look at the little woolly. It's so cool. It's so cool. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, that's from one of our cherished sponsors, and they do everything a million times better than we could with even the nicest 3D printer. But yeah, that's basically what's going on with that. I also watch. I'm working and streaming a lot. So if you want to watch me check out Split Fiction with Paige tonight, we're gonna stream at 5 p.m. East Western Pacific, 5 p.m. Pacific. Tomorrow I'm gonna do a late night Monster Hunter stream, and I'm also going to check out the remainder of the Treehouse streams. And that'll be it for me. I'm not streaming this weekend. I'm gonna be tired.
Could you imagine if like y'all just posted like checking out this new 3D printer, and then the energy of everyone around you just suddenly shifted?
You know what, man? I wouldn't even be surprised.
If everyone went,
I wouldn't
Jesus
even
Christ,
be surprised.
thank God. All right, well, like what are we doing here? Execute Order 66. Yeah. Okay. All right.
It's just like one of the things that I've discovered about BC is that on the East Coast, people will confront you just to do it. Like there's no problem, but let's have a confrontation. And on the West Coast, people will tolerate like everything short of being stabbed so that they don't have to have an awkward conversation. It's very... Well, what people get mad?
Well, it's funny how the coastal like word energy applies in the same way that New York and LA describe themselves to Canada as well. Like East Coast versus West Coast.
It's the air or something. I don't know.
Same thing. Shit is soft out west, yo. but yeah, it's
yeah. Paige in the chat says, I bet I could shit on the floor during D&D and everyone would just look the other way. I think I should just shit my pants the next time I go.
Well, the important
just
part,
full on blowout.
Well, the important part is like mid drop to be looking up at everyone and saying that you're having a hard time, right? It needs to be like while you're squeezing to like make the break, you need to be going.
Guys, I'm sorry, I'm under a lot of stress.
I'm having a hard time. Just make sure you say that in sync.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Now you're all having a hard time, and I'm sorry about that.
There you go. Right.
Yeah.
Very important.
So, I mean, oh man, we're trucking on this podcast.
We are trucking, but
there's barely any news, so we're just about out of here.
All right. Well, look, let's take our quick sponsor break. Let's get that taken care of, and then let's
get our sponsors, whom we love,
and let's get into what's going on. This week, the podcast is sponsored by Cha-ching! That's the sound of a sale on Shopify.
It's Shopify! I love Shopify! Hey!
There you go. That is the #1 checkout on the internet. If you are getting your business started online and you're trying to figure out how to sell things or how to figure out how to integrate it on your socials or just get that first thing shipped out to people. Or if you're already crossing that millionth sale, Shopify can help you out. That is the shop, the checkout behind brands like Alo, Allbirds, Skims, a lot of successful shops on the internet. And I've talked quite a bit about the shop app as well. Very, very useful. I find myself tracking everything on that whenever I've got multiple deliveries coming my way from different places. As long as they're Shopify plugged in, you can track them all together. It's really useful. They've got a great conversion rate, and you have award-winning support as well. So be sure to consider checking them out. When we got into playing video games and making dick jokes, we didn't know how to get a t-shirt in your hands, but thankfully with Shopify, that was made possible. So be sure to check them out and upgrade your business to get the same checkout that we use. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/superbeast, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/superbeast to upgrade your selling today. One more time, shopify.com/superbeast.
Thanks, Shopify.
Thank you. This week, the podcast is also sponsored by boot.dev.
Boot.dev, I need your help. I want to do computer stuff, and everything's computers. Well, but I don't know how to do computer.
Well, doing computer is hard, but more than that, learning how to program is very difficult. And
is that a type of computer?
It is. I
don't even know.
It's literally learning languages, right? And it also can take a long time, especially if you're like me and you find reading a textbook to be particularly dry. I'm not proud of it, but it is true. Attention spans have gotten worse, and the gamification of my learning abilities would help me and would have helped me so much more.
I want to tell you, the boot.dev copy man that wrote that attention spans are getting worse.
No, I just said that.
Oh, that was you? The woolly man who said that is so dead on, because like you were talking and I knew what you were going to say, and I was like, I'm getting distracted. I'm going to pick up my tiny dog and like I literally couldn't even concentrate for 1 second.
How are you supposed to learn Go or Python in a situation where you can barely look away from little Boozy? You know?
Look, he does a little dance.
It's very distracting. You're learning at home and you got a dog holding its butt up, shuffling around. It's crazy. No, boot.dev is a really great way to learn how to program, because it's a gamified setup that basically has you playing through an RPG as you learn how to program. So you're earning XP, you're clearing dungeons as you take on each challenge. It's like a different fight, and you unlock achievements, level up, get treasure. It's a whole suite of features, and it's a really fun way of going about it. They also they could have just stopped there, but they took it to the next level. They went really far with it by having like raid bosses for the season that have a story attached to them, and like every chapter has a progression point once enough people do enough damage to the boss of the season. So like it's again going way above and beyond in terms of like the gamification part, you know? And yeah, you can learn back-end web development from start to finish with Python, Golang, and SQL. So be sure to check it out and, learn how to program in a way that's never boring so you can stick with it long enough to learn your goals. Programming, no need to tell you if you already know, but if you don't, it's a job, according to Stack Overflow, where the median salary for back-end developers in the US in 2023 was over $100K. So
that's not bad. You could buy a new video game console with a salary that good.
That is a pretty decent salary. If you want to get into it as well, if you're a student, they've got a 30-day no questions asked refund policy, and they've got a free demo of all of the interactive experience on every course. A full community on Discord as well with people that are there to help you out if you ever get stuck. So, you can try out basically every part of the challenges on their site for free before you fully commit. Check them out. Pretty cool way to go about learning a skill that can change your life. So, go to boot.dev and try out the courses for free, and then use our code CastleSuperBeast, and you'll get 25% off your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. So once again, that's boot.dev to try out the courses for free, and use the code CastleSuperBeast, and you'll get 25% off your entire first year if you choose the annual plan. Thank you very much, boot.dev.
Thanks, boot.dev.
Okay. And this week, the podcast is sponsored by Rocket Money.
Rocket Money? I could go for some Rocket Money.
Yeah.
Is that money that goes fast?
It goes fast because you can't get much faster than you already have it. It's yours.
Okay.
Except you didn't know, or you forgot that you were spending it.
I know what this. I know this happens to me a lot.
And so you might have signed up for things where your money was disappearing because you forgot. But Rocket Money is going to help you remember what you've subscribed to.
Will this help me find out what account is going to my secret family?
Yes, in case you lost track of that somehow, which
it's hard to keep track of things nowadays.
Not great. But yeah, Rocket Money is about helping you find any subscriptions that you forgot, or if there's boosts in the price changes that you didn't realize increased. It helps track any changes and let you know about them. So, even something that you've passively been subscribed to in the background is not going to suddenly just shoot up on you. It also can help you cancel subscriptions, especially if there's time-consuming, confusing to cancel options, and you can get all kinds of alerts on that stuff, as well as track your overall spending and budget and such if you're looking to tighten up the belt a little bit and get responsible. So that's a super useful tool. I find is especially helpful.
I could probably use that right now.
I myself have noticed quite a few things that I've forgotten about or didn't recognize the name of on my account, and was able to see at least a few of those and be like, yeah, hey, no, that ain't right. I'm not using that service anymore. And especially getting taken along for a ride with the unsubscription process being 4 or 5 parts, and sometimes they're timed where you got to go from app to email to website back to email. You know, it was quite annoying. So it turns out that 85% of people have at least, or I guess like users on the internet, have at least one paid subscription going unused each month. So that is kind of how I think a lot of stuff is set up these days. So yeah, don't trust your own memory, and don't have your money wasted. See all of your subscriptions in one place and see exactly where your money is going with Rocket Money. And yeah, they've got over 5 million users who have saved up to a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. So that averages out to $740 a year per member when using all of the app's premium features. That's pretty significant. You could buy a Switch 2 with that money. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/superbeast today. That's rocketmoney.com/superbeast. One more time, rocketmoney.com/superbeast.
Thanks, Rocket Money.
Thank you. Oakley Dokely. So let's see over here. Now, the big chonky parts. Let's get the small things out of the way, I suppose, first, right?
Yeah, let's do it like that. Yeah.
Okay, so one, I talked a little bit earlier about listening to Argo Tulik, who was one of the Disco Elysium writers, on the whole process of how Disco Elysium came and started and continued and when things split up and so on. There's a really long thing. It was really interesting hearing that, because as that happened, simultaneous, I got sent a message with a little video going, "Hey, check this out." And I was reading about how essentially there was a whole thing where so Robert Kurvitz had the initial falling out and then left, and then some folks that we know from the staff before Zaum completely was devoid of any of the original staff. There were still some people that stuck around and were still working on Disco Elysium related projects. As we were describing, obviously people need to eat. It's understandable.
That's true.
And some of the things that got announced, there was a full-fledged sequel that was supposed to happen. I think it was called Project Y9. And then at some point after that, there was the announcement of Project X7, which was a standalone expansion to Disco. And so what we got was a video showing off Project X7, the DLC, that was going to be called Locust City, an Elysium story. Essentially, Jamrock Hobo, who's one of the premier, I'd say, Disco Elysium content creators online, who grabbed us playing through the game in our various playthroughs and stuck us in some compilations to some of the wildest moments and stuff. Good stuff. Shout outs to Jamrock. Got sent a video from someone who in the know that was just hey, upload this. And it was a full project meeting internally discussing Locust City and Elysium Story. So that was that was on April 1st was when it got uploaded, but it was way too elaborate. And if you watched the video, you could see this is way too in depth for this to be an April Fool's joke. There's no way, right? Because it's getting into each team's development, where they're at, and them showing off how their tech is going. So what it is a story starring Kuno and Kuno S. And it was actually interesting to see some of the pitch and what they had in mind. It got taken down, but of course people made some copies, so I'm sure it can be found.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Found elsewhere.
Never get to it fast enough.
Yeah, the original video, exactly. You're right. It must be backed up a million places. But Kuno and Kuno S basically yucking it up, running through as essentially Kuno's dad gets murdered, and then he goes on an adventure to figure out what the fuck happened. So it starts out with an overlap of two voices that sound very similar to the limbic system and the ancient reptilian brain, and they're actually the inner kind of ego voices of Kuno and Kuno S separately. it would have been a game where you control both of them, and as they go around and like interact with things, you can switch from one to the other while talking to people and have the conversation switch between the two. Some thoughts that Kuno starts, Kuno S has to finish, and vice versa. Right? They have individual stats that are the voices in their heads. They have individual bits and pieces that play off of each other, and there was a whole 2-in-1 sort of setting to them that was quite interesting. One of the bits was that, like, something about Kuno S's past, for example, involved being near the ocean. So she could hear things differently and pay attention to the sound of water differently from him. So when you clicked on her, she would notice the sound of like a running river somewhere nearby, or a fountain. And on his side, when you click on him, he can't hear that, because what he hears are like chattering locusts, because he's got a box of locusts and he's poked holes in them to keep them alive. And you don't know what he's going to do with this box of locusts, but they're there. And every once in a while, he can peek at them to see what's happening in the box. And depending on how you've been playing him, the civilization of locusts inside the box will evolve differently to reflect his psyche.
That's so weird.
Because his psyche and everything about Kuno, obviously, being as fucked up as it is, can go in a lot of different places. And overall, kind of like a thought cabinet in a way, which was also there. This would be like, it sounds like you could have them create a civilization of, like, you know, prosperity, and they can build up buildings and structures and talk to each other,
or it becomes like dank feudalism,
or just all out war and bloodbath, and you're just like, what is he gonna do with this box of bugs, you know? And it was broken up into these 5 major acts where, you know, it starts with them,
that would have been so cool,
discovering and then leaving and going on, I guess, you know, what might be a coming of age for these two shit kids. And then that intro narration in particular as well was just so interesting to see, like, Kuno's inner voice just be like this badass, strong, confident, nothing fucks on Kuno. Who's that? You know, like, and her inner voice is like this kind of like sassy, adult, self-confident, sure British woman, speaking with,
just
like,
that kid yelling
sharpness
about their soda being Minjin.
Yeah, but like what she hears herself is like this sassy, confident, strong voice, you know. And it was a whole setup they had where the two played off of each other, you know. And of course, again, sometimes you look at one character and you do a red check, but you can switch over to the other to, like, swerve the conversation a different way. Very interesting setup in it, and you can go check it out. It's about a 15-minute, you know, presentation on where they were going with it. But Locust City was what it was called. That was Project X7, and that is what Argo Tulik was working on before he got, you know, ousted, and before the whole thing fell apart. And now, of course, the lawsuits are happening to make sure that he can't work on anything anywhere and such. So it's a whole fucking mess. But we got to look at least one of those, you know, Disco Plus type things. Quite interesting as a premise, and the idea of having the main character be that fucking Kuno doesn't fucking care, like, in your head, you know, the whole time, would have been kind of nuts.
It would have been so good.
Would have been really, really interesting. Yeah, I feel like, you know, well, obviously we don't know what's going to happen, but the idea of some of the original creators at least being around to, like, steer the ship or guide it in some way meant that, you know, what you could see something interesting like this potentially come out of it, even if Kurvitz is not around, you know. But, like, who the fuck knows with nothing there, you know. You obviously, we saw that first person kind of mobile version of things, and who, you know, we'll see how that comes along, because they're doing that made for phone change up in the format and such. But overall, that seems like a promising idea, you know. Huge shame. Yeah, go check that out.
Watch none of these come out, man. Like not a single one.
of all
not
the
a single one.
all the successors, all the sequels, all the deal. Yeah,
they all just sue each other into oblivion.
Yeah, just crash the fucking Estonian game. I mean, this is the Estonian games market, really, right? Boy. Anyway, okay, so beyond that, what else is going on? Well, real quick, they just showed off the Marvel Rival Season 2 Hellfire Gala, so we got to see Ultron and White Queen. Mm-hmm. And there's something just so simple in that all of this is going on, and there's currently a limited edition thing, which if you get on, I think pretty much like right away or so, you can get your chance at twerking Venom.
Yeah.
And isn't twerking Venom just the perfect microcosm for what every other game we're about to talk about should be doing?
Yes.
Is that not just like people just want twerking Venom? Just
because people were like, "Oh man, it'd be cool if Venom twerked because Venom's got a big butt," and then they went, "Yeah, okay, yeah, sure, fuck it."
You know, not unknown random DJs and you know, potential fucking criminals and God knows what else happening here. Just Venom dropping it.
I'll tell you what,
dropping it low.
Marvel Rivals is like a really good example for me of how badly the FOMO spell has broken for me, because I was playing other things and then realized that I had missed out on some fucking seasonal event. I think it was like the Chinese New Year costumes.
Oh, right.
For Rivals. And then as soon as I realized that, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm done.
It broke.
Like as soon as the FOMO kicked in, I'm like, oh, I missed out on. Okay, no, I'm done. I'm done forever.
Okay.
Like I'm not gonna chase.
I think
like any time limited fucking thing or battle pass on this fucking game. Like no.
I think there's a bit where I look, because I popped on just to look and see what was going on, and I saw the Spider-Punk outfit, and I was like, ooh, Spider-Punk looks really good. Yeah. But I'm like, I don't play Spider-Man. But still,
yeah, right.
You know, and I'm kind of like, okay, for the characters I care about and the ones I play, I think I can be like, let me get those, you know. But anything that's not going to be super time limited for a character I don't play, I think I might be a little more willing to chill on. But that being said, like twerking Venom with the Marvel vs. Capcom colors, yeah, let's fucking run that, you know.
Yeah.
And it's Spider-Punk 2099, but he has like the filter, the pop explosion color filter on him on some of those animations. Really, really good job there. Anyway,
yeah, that orange Venom looks fucking great.
Marvel 1. Okay. Then let's, you know what? Here, let me early spotlight as well some cool stuff that's happening. Someone pointed me in the direction of a fan game called MegaMan X Corrupted. I watched it. There's some footage over the years. I think the video I saw was the Cyber Lab. And I was like, okay, MegaMan X fan game. Let's take a look. Oh my god, I'm watching this whole video. I just, within like a minute of watching what was going on, I was like, fuck me, this looks incredible. It's just MegaMan. It's like, you know, you're watching like Zero running through like a mission, you're meeting characters, talking, a whole setup where it's like the map is broken up in a Zero like way where you're going to different directions. There's a level up screen where you're looking at your different upgrade branching routes, and it just looked really compelling. And it was like,
what's the punchline?
There's no punchline. It's just, this could have been what the franchise was if we continued to make those games, I suppose. You know, it's just kind of a bit of a like, yeah, the fan community still knows what we kind of wanted, and it just looks dope as hell.
How do I play it?
Not out yet. And
how long has it been worked on?
Seems like a while. So
that's the punchline. Okay, there it is. There it is.
Seems like a while. 15 years? Get the fuck out of here. Are you serious?
Oh, yeah? Oh, that's a good punchline. Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Because, Wooly, you started to talk about it, and I started watching MegaMan X Corrupted Cyberlab. And the text says, I'm proud to share the amazing work the team has done, which I interpreted as the game's not out yet. And now I'm like, okay, where is it?
All right. Well, it's either that or, tap the sign on my video. But since we're already talking about it, and, there was that one time that Capcom officially endorsed a fan game. So that gives everyone hope.
Capcom product is like probably the safest. If you're going to like do a fan game of anybody, like Capcom does occasionally endorse fan games and
Sega
rarely shuts them down.
Sega would be the safest, I'd say. They have a whole ages celebration of it,
They also like need you to keep putting out Sonic games that people want to play because they won't.
But the litmus tests and infinite data. Oh man, the Capcom test?
Yeah.
Like Sega has the Sonic test made for them every single year over and over and over again. There's so much info and so much data on exactly what to do there. But overall, I'm like, hey, I'm glad if a company is like, yeah, let the fan game rock. But if it's been 15 years in the making, Jesus Christ.
I guess it's gone under the radar.
All right, well, if you want to go watch a cool 20-minute video of a game that may or may not come out, MegaMan X Corrupted Cyberlab was pretty dope.
I think today is a really good day to say the phrase, I think games are good when they come out.
And you know what came out? Speaking of which,
what's that?
Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Community Edition is out.
Cool. I thought it was out this whole time.
No, it was a working version. Basically, I think the person that was working on Nero for a long time was unable to complete the project due to some personal stuff. But it looks like it's finally gotten finished. In the meantime, let me tell you, the amount of fucking shit they put in is obscene. What I thought was like going to be a healthy 10, maybe 15 characters has turned out to be perhaps more than that. Would you like a quick run through?
Hit me.
Obviously,
hit me with the list.
The full roster that you know, and then Shadow Lady, Evil Ryu, Lilith, Orange Hulk, Spider-Gwen, A New Wolverine, Stars, Wesker, Red She-Hulk, Phoenix and Maya, Captain Marvel, Marvel 2 Sentinel, Shinakuma, Chris from Stars, Ken, Cyclops, Jean Grey, DMC-1 Dante, Thanos, Psylocke, Rashid, Monster Hunter, Hunk, Cammy, Ultron, Ashura, Moonstone, Guile, Charlie, Leon Krauser, Jake, Sherry, Sakura, Batsu, Bishop, Iceman, Gambit, Venom, Carnage, Captain Commando, Tailbane, Shocker, Blackheart, MegaMan X, King Thor, Stranger Jill from Stars, US Agent, Clea, Servbot, Dan Hibiki, Gloria, The Thing, DMC5, Virgil, Nero, Strider 2099, M. Bison, Colossus, Onslaught, Hayato, Carter, Slade, Kyosuke, Saki, Yun, War Machine, Bad Box Art MegaMan, and Jury with 49 costumes.
Why does Jury have 49 costumes?
You know exactly why.
Okay. I want to ask you a question and I want a yes/no answer. Is one of Jury's costumes just the entire model is like the model of her bare foot? And it works like Daytona, USA, like car from fighting Megamix.
Someone failed the assignment if that isn't the case.
I'm seeing people say the word yes.
A giant foot must obviously be costume number 49.
Is that? Are you serious? Like, actually?
I have no idea, but if you go look at the trailer, I think the last 5 minutes is just Jury costumes. Is going from one into the other. It's absolute madness. What's
the exact name of this? Infinite Beyond?
No. This is Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Community Edition. Infinite and Beyond is Marvel 4
Oh, okay. It's a different.
This is Marvel 3, not the Infinite game.
Okay.
This is the one. This is the one that was fine the whole time.
They just added more.
This is not the one that needed fixing. So yeah, head over to Nexus Mods and grab it. I can tell you this: just looking at footage of Nero, he's perfect and incredible. That on its own is worth the price of entry, which is obviously nothing. It's a mod, but Nero's perfect. It's a perfect Marvel 3 Nero.
Did they improve the netcode?
I think you can play with other people who have it installed.
But is the netcode better?
I mean, I don't think that was part of the overhaul. No, I think you've got what you got.
That's cool.
Insane. And yeah, I do know that folks were running Parsec.
Is Parsec good now, or is good?
Parsec's been a solution for that for a while.
Is it good?
Yeah, you can play. Yeah, you can play it, and you can feel like input. So I'm told.
Okay.
So I'm told.
All right. That's pretty crazy. That's bananas. What's that number? What's the number up to on that?
Someone was working on a rollback patch, but they abandoned it due to personal issues. Damn. Okay. I mean, if you want full numbers, 68 characters added to the base roster.
That's pretty good. In fact, I would say that in a fast tag game in today's world, you would be crazy to release your game with less than even half of 68 characters.
I mean, that's a very extreme number to force 34 out there. Yeah, so let's
just cut that in half to be reasonable.
But
34.
The last bit is just to say that the thing I wanted the most about this is the case, which is by having these all released together, there also are new characters that are balanced together. And
yes, important.
And around each other in a standardized way too, so they all kind of fit in. So here we go. There's a discussion about balance and a discussion about roster. Which way, young FGC gamer?
That is a false equivalence. We have played a lot of games that had rosters of 10 to 15 characters that were fucking balanced like shit.
No, what I mean is this segue can swerve into Tekken or to 2XKO.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Let's go to 2XKO.
Hey, okay, you know what? No. I actually want to know, why is the Tekken patch so bad? I've never seen the FGC just turn on a whole game.
So this
a whole game.
So this one is difficult because like
I don't play Tekken 8. So I don't know.
So I'm casual on Tekken, right? Like I play and I have a character and I enjoy playing it, and stuff is cool, but I definitely have to refer to those who know and are in there much more frequently to learn. Fortunately, God damn it, let me try to find it. Fi released a Street Fighter equivalent of what these patches would be like if they were in Street Fighter 6.
Because to me, there was a divining rod, right? One was somebody in chat asks me, "Hey man, you see this shit happening with Tekken?" And I'm like, and I went on Steam live. I was like, I opened up the browser and I went, how bad? And overwhelmingly negative. Holy shit. And then I checked my Discord, I think the next day, and Punk Duck had reached out to me out of nowhere and said, okay, well, Tekken 8 is abysmal. I'm switching to Virtua Fighter. And I was like, whoa. That's a big statement.
That's a lot.
That is a crazy statement. Whoa.
Yeah. And so there's the tricky part too is as well as the part where there's been a lot. So Tekken, as well as the community, there's been a lot of moments of like people you know, it's hard to tell when it's like, oh, this shit's garbage, and it's like, okay, is it, or is it kind of like
nerf your character?
Yeah, because you know, it's not a cry wolf situation as much as it is. There's been times where you're like, damn it, this game is over, it's fucking dead, and it's like it's not that bad. But admittedly,
I've heard that statement a lot.
But admittedly, basically they released a new character whose balance is all fucked up, and they're going to need to address it, right? What I will say is, and so this is one of those cases where you're like, is that what's happening here? And it's like, it seems like it's quite a bit more, and that's why the overwhelming amount of feedback is happening. Here, let me get you this this tweet. It feels like, I will say, so far, despite the fact that, like, you know, don't ask me for shit is the Harada meme, over time, when there's been these big moments of backlash, it usually feels like there's a correction moment, like with the Heihachi stage inclusion and shit. Makes like sense. That. There's a moment where they actually go, okay, no, wait, we fucked up. Hold on, let's go fix this, right? So here is a tweet from PhiDX, who translated Tekken Season 2 changes for Street Fighter players.
Oh, that's so good. Oh, yeah. Okay, I got this up. Go ahead and read it because it's fun.
Okay, so...
we can assume our audience is more familiar with Street Fighter than Tekken.
Okay, so this is like saying Akuma Go Hadoken, which is the Hadoken. Damage has been... let me pull up. Reduced by 50. Okay, hold on. Shit, it shrunk. Sorry. Damage been reduced by 50, 100, 150 on light, medium, heavy. Akuma, damage reduced by 50, 100, 150, light, medium, heavy. Input changed to down, down, plus punch. So what if Shoryuken became down, down, plus punch, right? Okay. So Akuma's Tatsu, frame advantage on block increased from -13 to -1. So what if Tatsu was just almost safe, right? His health increases from 9,000 to 10,000, which is standardized health. So the big weakness Akuma usually has. Yeah, we just took that away. Okay, his demon flip kick increased startup speed, making it harder to react to. Shengoku Satsu, which is the raging demon, changed input to down, down, kick plus punch, so you can just do it right away. And it's invincible to projectiles from the first frame. But to make up for this, damage has been reduced to 4,000 from 4,700, right? And then a little also at the bottom, Kami, quick spin knuckle, projectile invuln from the first frame instead of the 9th, and frame advantage on hit changed to +8, which is enough time for her to do a standing heavy punch, which allows a full combo afterwards.
You know what the best part about this is? I absolutely perfectly understand exactly how this would translate into Tekken.
Yes.
It's like, okay, so everything is faster, scarier, less threatening, like it's less safe on block, but hey, you know what? Hey, did you get a hit in? Just go, do whatever. Just go crazy.
Okay.
But we toned the damage down. We toned it down, so it's safe. It's
also
fair now.
And there's new moves that track and do everything and basically create 50-50 situations after you block them, because you were mistaken for blocking it. You should not have been there, and now that
they turned it into Killer Instinct without combo breakers.
So so it all goes pretty intense, right? And you know, that level of like the translation, like going over, now they're like, the idea is, what if you applied that to like the whole cast, right?
You'd be insane. Why would you do it?
So this all started with initially they revealed that they're like throw teching, which is when you break a throw, was going to change for the first time. You're going to have it be so that breaking a throw led to you taking a little bit of damage while the person who tried to throw is in heat, right? So that's a you know, an activated point during the round.
Is that how they say it?
In heat?
Is that how people in Tekken say it? Is like when your opponent is in heat?
During heat. Yeah, you know, that's the mechanic is called heat, and you activate it. So when you're in heat, these are the things that happen.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
You can say phrasing all you want. That's how it's referred to. Characters go in heat.
It's true. They do that.
This has been a thing. It's the whole time. Anyway, so
that's so fucking funny. Oh my god.
So a big part of this has been so that was an initial change, and then also they made a change so that when you do key charge, which was, originally in every Tekken game, you press all 4 buttons and then you go zzz, and you see a little spark. Usually that means that you can't block, and 2, the next thing you do will act as if it were a counter hit, which changes the properties of the attack in a lot of cases, allowing you to do, different types of combos or strings and such. They changed that as well so that it's just a damage increase instead of a hit type property change, right? People were understandably pretty upset about that because they're like, these are part of the identity of the franchise. They've been there for so long, and it's really strange to just do that. There's a discussion point around like when Street Fighter V launched and reversal like wake up Shoryuken type situations where like Shoryukens were not invulnerable, and then they had to like eventually go like, okay, no, only if you do it as an EX move or so. But it was just very weird because it was just like, this has been a part of this franchise for a really long time. People were upset about that, and then they were like, also there's going to be character specific changes that are coming later on, but that was the first one. People, were upset, and they did respond before patch 2.0 for Tekken 8 dropped, and the response was, and this is the thing where I'm like, Radiant and the 2XKO folks and everything, like, explaining your patch notes and why you do things is very important, because perception is super, super crucial to people perceiving and understanding why things are the way they are, right?
It's part of the meta game of balance. Like, we've had games in the past buff guns in Call of Duty by changing their sound effect, right? And it works on player psychology, but explaining like, no, here's the actual design mentality behind why we nerf this or change this, it also affects player mentality, because people who understand and don't just, why is it different?
Yeah, I've often said how much I love Rising Thunder's patch notes, and to that end, when
they're great.
Yeah, and the same energy is going into like when they're breaking down details about 2XKO. Excuse me, like when you describe what you're changing, you go, here's what it was, here's what we wanted it to do, here's where it was failing to do that, people were doing something else and it wasn't working that same way, and so here's why we're changing it, and here's what we're changing it to. And so that initial thing of people just seeing that and going, I don't understand why you're doing this, what the fuck is going on, especially if it's a thing that's been a legacy part of the franchise for the entire time, rightfully understandably confused as to what the fuck is going on, right? Why are you doing this? So then an explanation kind of came out and addressed it, and it did go into why. And I feel like something that has unfortunately happened with a lot of Japanese fighting games over the years has been like because I'm thinking of like specifically as well when Killer Instincts would also have like Keats do those streams where he's like, we're gonna do like a 3-hour stream cracking over every one of these changes and what y'all wanted and what you're looking for.
They were great.
Walking you
Keats
through it.
Keats is great.
So everyone was everyone understood where you were coming from, where you were going, and what the intention was. And then I remember the days of just like, yeah, a lot of games that were just like, no, there's a way of doing things, and that is we make a change. We don't want to tell you what it is, and you have to discover for yourself why and what that means. But by playing everything close to the chest, you're just kind of like, you don't want to dictate how people should play, but also you create frustration when you're like, I don't know why you did this. It's baffling. And it makes no sense.
I'm watching like, right? Somebody posted a tweet in here, and it's like a trivial touch of death off of like a trade.
So
and it's like a touch of death. Like, that's crazy.
I remember when we got updates to like, I think it was like Super Street Fighter 4, and I saw like a Feilong or a couple other things where it's just like various adjustments have been made, and you're like,
go fuck yourself. How about that? How about how about you go fuck yourself in a various amount of ways that I won't specify.
It really, really, really sucked to just not know what the fuck that meant. So with this, even getting into the specifics of the detail of like, here's what the frame data changes are and the property changes are, the explaining the why part is something that's really important. So an explanation came out afterwards where they said, okay, so in terms of the feedback on throws, here's what we were getting at. And this is something, and like with throws, there's always been like this kind of thing where throwing in Tekken is, if you're a top player, you can recognize whether the left hand is above the right hand or the right hand is above the left. And
you check it 100% of the time.
And you can always tech what you see because you have the reactions and you're just that good. You've trained yourself and you have the skill for that. If you're not amongst that list, if you're everyone else, you're getting thrown all the time nonstop. You can't break shit, right? so it's this really like interesting thing when you have you have a character that's built around throws, like a king or so, where you're like, oh, your kit doesn't work on people that can react to this, but a whole bunch of players are unable to react to throws and just get thrown constantly.
I can't react to throws in Tekken.
It's an aggressive.
I can't do it.
You have to train for this, and honestly, like I was talking with a bunch of folks this week about it, but like Tekken does feel like a game where it is very difficult to make that your secondary game while you main something else, especially like a 2D fighter. If Street Fighter or Guilty Gear or so is your main game and you have Tekken as your secondary or so, it feels it's much more difficult than if you make Tekken your main game and then you put something else secondary, because of how much unique stuff that doesn't apply to all the other fighters Tekken requires of you.
I would say it's the same with like Virtua Fighter. It's like, yeah, I play Virtua Fighter on the side. No, you don't. You either play Virtua Fighter and other shit, or you fucking just use shit Virtua Fighter.
Playing Tekken makes you can help you with Soul Calibur and vice versa.
Absolutely.
But like that's a two-way street and it's locked in its own place, versus a lot of other 2D fighters where, getting better at blocking in Strive or Exert is going to apply to certain Marvel games or certain Hyper games, playing Dragon Ball, playing
Absolutely,
a team fighter,
100%.
playing Skullgirls. A lot of these skills are
the 2D fighters all have more shared DNA than all of the 3D fighters.
Exactly. Like Mortal Kombat with a block button is obviously out over here on the side.
We're talking about fighting games.
But like, things where there's a lot that's interchangeable. But yeah, Tekken really is doing its own, So so with that, you have something difficult where they're like, okay, how do we address throws when so many people are having trouble with it, but at the same time, competitively, it's not as much of a threat as it needs to be, right? Well, I mean, certainly there's things where like King has, obviously there's 1+2 breaks, which is like you break by pressing both 1 and 2 together, or he has a throw that you break with 3, I believe Renato explained to me. Mm-hmm. So what they explained after they made those changes was essentially that, yeah, people have struggled with throw breaking, and people that are really good, certainly are able to do so, but a large majority of players are struggling. And so what they wanted to do was, alongside this, with this change, they made it so that 1+2 breaks, which require you to think and recognize them and break them, it takes a little bit more attention. There's a larger window of time when you can break that. Mm-hmm. Right? So those throw breaks get easier. And if you try to throw somebody and you whiff, also you're going to be slower to recover from that whiff, which means going for a throw and messing up is more punishable. And so that was the idea, was essentially, we're going to make it so that it's easier for most people who struggle with throws to break and punish them. And so in exchange for that, at high level, if you are already able to break all these throws, well, you shouldn't be there to begin with. You should be either sidestepping or doing something because you're a good enough player to not to avoid this. Therefore, you don't take the little bit of damage that's the idea behind it, right?
And here's where you get to this weird place in your life where you hear somebody make a calm and reasonable argument from a position of knowledge, and all you have in your gut is, that sounds stupid as fuck.
So that's something that they ultimately went, okay, we're going to roll back the part where the person who tried to throw gets one bit of recovered health, and we're going to make it so that the person who takes the throw is going to get a little bit of health that can be recovered over time. But overall, that explanation, I do understand where they're coming from when it's like, yeah, throws are something completely different to like the competitive level of player versus 90% of everyone else, right? I get that explanation. What ends up happening is alongside this, there's then the full release of the 2.0 patch, which is like everyone now has all their everyone's abilities. There's new moves. Stuff has been adjusted drastically, like that Akuma thing we did earlier, where it's like, oh, this kind of discussion about throws and key charges are like way in the background now because the overall game has gotten way more insane, and it's effectively what people are calling like a Kusoge patch, which is the equivalent of like what the insane Dragon Ball Fighters thing they did on the way out is kind of happening now while Tekken 8 is live, you know? And it was like in the case of Dragon Ball, when it was like, hey, we're getting out of here with one last hurrah while the game, you know, was kind of retiring. That's very different from we're in the peak of this game's life in the middle of a second season, you know? But it led to...
It's very weird.
It led to what people are kind of... So everyone's got their different takes on it, but essentially they're like... the discussion from players are that like there are now like 20 characters in S tier is kind of the idea.
So it's really well balanced then.
Everyone, including the already strongest characters, has gotten buffed and incredible improvements. In a lot of cases, they've been given stuff that's so strong that they lose their identity. What was special about the character or unique about their kit
Oh no!
falls by the wayside.
Oh my god, I just saw Paul do 60% on a single counter hit punch.
So give me a second, I'll get to what you're looking at in that video. What ends up happening is people end up having a lot of they have new moves and new things where the risk reward for doing this new thing is just so much better than anything else their old kit did that you should just do this new thing, right? So everyone, include like whether they needed it or not, got buffed to oblivion, and so the philosophy now is being challenged of the like don't nerf, just buff, in which we've had this discussion quite a bit. So we're gonna have to.
Now they're so strong you don't even have to play the game.
So we're gonna have to like put the asterisk and explain that a little bit further. I think that video. There's a video of Paul doing the punch and strongest in the universe, and like you see 60% damage in one hit, right? And so that's counter hit damage plus heat, plus rage, plus I think the key charge as well. So
I don't care.
Right?
I don't care.
Yeah. And a clean hit. And it's like 5 or so like unique, impossible type situations all stacked on each other to create that outcome. So
that's too much. Even with all that.
So just the point of the sentence being that like it would be pretty impossible for all those things to occur in a real match to get that damage. But still, that
shouldn't be numerically like achievable through your fighting game.
But that's a bad example of things being dumb because that's not a real one, right? The real one is when you see Jack doing an endless stream of lunging elbows.
I also saw that.
Where you're like unable to do shit and the mistake you made was blocking it. Or where, things that were safe and already strong and advancing also track. So if you try to sidestep, you get blown up for it.
Oh, that's mean. Come on.
And a lot of other things that, overall changed some of the game worked was the ability to like sidestep forward from crouch and just some major stuff that has never been the case in the game is now just open up and open-ended, so it does. So I kind of wondered, I'm like, oh, were they going for a Dragon Ball Fighters-esque like Kusoge style patch with the way that Dragon Ball went out and kind of we're just fundamentally changing the spirit of what we think the goal of the game is here, hard to say, but I think initially, so let me see here, because I believe there was an explanation document for some of these changes, and kind of getting into like what they're overall getting at. But the end result has been people, even everyone that has a stronger character, have been really upset, going like, this isn't what I wanted this game to be. This isn't fun. And overall, even I feel like I'm like it feels like I'm robbing people in a way where the one thing that they expected was based on a previous statement, which they said, we're going to be buffing defense, right? They claimed that
that's not true.
They claimed that defense was going to be improved in the future, and here, not only is defense not improved, it's completely gone the opposite way, where it's all offense or nothing, and that has made everyone go, well, what the fuck why'd you say that, right? So yeah, it has erupted in a massive review bomb. Obviously, we're seeing it be overwhelmingly negative. People are basically quitting the game and or switching to Virtual Fighter, or various players are basically going, I don't want to compete. Overall, the craziest part about this was like when I was talking about it with Reggie, we kind of went, man, this is nuts, because all of this just out of nowhere. Not even with a piece of new content, huh? And I was like, yeah, that's crazy. And completely forgot, like everyone else did, that Anna was released with this patch. And Anna is not discussed at all. Nobody knows anything about how Anna's doing, because
I remembered that this is part of it, but like I have not seen the word Anna.
No one has any idea how Anna is doing. And also, she was someone who was 50-50 heavy as like a part of what she was about, in irony. But yeah, who knows? Because no one's discussing the new character, it's kind of just this really nutso moment where a lot of, again, what people describe as the identity of the franchise just feels like it's gone. And there has been, I believe earlier today, essentially an emergency patch discussion. So they're talking about adjusting Paul's Hammer of the Gods and Jack's Elbow are two things that are going to be pushed out, and they're going to be looking at feedback from everyone else to further go on and adjust more, and perhaps tweak or maybe even remove things as time goes on. I don't. The messaging is vague at the moment. The issue that a lot of people have is that this is such a large sweeping change where the whole cast has gotten a whole bunch of new shit and so many things have changed that like a couple of tweaks and flips here and there are not going to cut it. Like it would have to almost be like a full overhaul, a full rollback, so yeah, like pulling back on some stuff is not going to fix, what they're doing there. I was looking at what was going on with Steve Fox, and like they gave him a bunch of shit where if I'm just reading that, I'm going like, oh my God, that's incredible, but then also stuff where he doesn't have the freedom
but it's in a world in which everyone else got something incredible.
And overall, it's like, yeah. So the I understand the idea of
fucking Syndrome from The Incredibles fucking balancing Tekken now.
So what ends up sucking exactly is the like when everybody is like really strong, but they're strong in the same homogenized way. That's not as fun. That certainly makes people who have been spending a really long time getting good at these games feel like, well, what was I doing, right? And that ends up being a lot of the struggle. I feel like when I feel people talk about Tekken and are upset with the way things are going, because there's people that were upset with the way things are going already, with like heat mode. A lot of legacy players, as the term was described in the tweet, a lot of older players are like, yeah, this is a spectator feature that's a lot more hyperactive and kind of just made for us viewers, but as a player, this doesn't feel as good, and it makes it even harder to be strong defensively. And so it's just like a doubling down on that philosophy,
Well, so what I'm getting from this conversation is that Tekken 8 is suffering from severe structural problems because the team went out there and did far too much. And I can think that our friends over at 2XKO are not going to have that problem.
Well, hold that thought for a second before we switch out, just to say
that's two.
We're not ready yet. The last thing I wanted to say that I think is interesting and a little more relevant, because we've been hammering on this, and this is a very in-depth. I literally talked about frame data, which is I made a mental thing to be like, don't bring up frame data as much as you can, avoid it, in general. But
yeah,
we're here, it's right. But every once in a while, you got to get into it because that's what's fucking happening. And to explain this to anybody who's like, why is Tekken on fire? You have to explain why, which involves getting there, right? So
they gave everyone a gun. Seems to be the short answer.
But I just wanted to say that, like, I remember that, like, part of this is that, like, the Core A Gaming buffs are better than nerfs video was a pretty good one that we've discussed and brought up many times. And
you can put a little asterisk within reason.
Within reason, because I did see, like, some people are just like, yo, this video has, like, done irreparable damage. You know, it's like, it's the perspective.
You're not watching Gerald's video for fucking Tekken advice.
I would not be surprised if some people were, but overall, the idea in general that, like, when we're talking about it as a, like, common understanding of, like, oh, when Seth Killian said back in the day, we try to buff up instead of nerfing down because it feels better, what that means, you know, in the long term, right? And we always talk about, like, the idea of the I think it was, what was it, the loss proposition, where it's like it feels better to get something, it feels twice as bad to lose something than it does to gain something.
A concept known as loss aversion.
Loss aversion, right? Yeah, so that's a big part of it. So I think exactly, like, the overall idea there is that applies is, in this case, if you're buffing already buffed characters further into oblivion, if it comes at sacrificing, again, identity of the characters and a lot of the fun, you know, the same video also describes how the perfectly balanced game that is Street Fighter 1 is the least fun in the world, you know, and nobody wants.
That's true. Street Fighter 1 does have perfect balance.
Nobody wants that game where everybody is strong, but everybody can do the same thing, and everybody is on that same level because they're all the best, right? That's
I think
5-5 matchups across the board is and that's,
yeah,
you know.
I think Gerald says, like, this isn't exactly the 5-5 utopia everyone dreams of.
Exactly, right? And so, you know, you bring up it also goes in to describe the idea of how, like, hey, there was a really tall basketball player who stopped the game because he could hold the ball forever and make it so that nobody could do anything, and thus, you know, we had to invent the shot clock, and the shot clock made it, while nerfing that guy, it made the game fun for everybody, and it increased the score and increased the tension and added something as well. You know, so that's a form of nerf that makes the game better. And you know, here's a reasonable example. Everybody else gets buffed by the shot clock that is not 7 feet tall. You know, and then for anyone who's shorter than that, even, here's the other side of it. You get the 3-point line, which then allows people who are able to shoot, no matter what their height, to score and increase the tension and stakes of the game as well in a different way strategically that has nothing to do with your ability to stand there, hold the ball forever, right? So taking those points into account, that's also, like, here it's like we're seeing buff ups with no consideration for any of those other factors, and that's where I would say, you know, you can't just blindly say yes, never nerf, only buff, you know, and that's what happened. So
speaking of shot clocks, the one over at Riot is about to run out, and they're going to have to shoot their shot. Are you guys ready to make a 3-pointer?
So here's the thing with the 2XKO open discussion, right? They broke down a lot of changes, and a lot of what they described sounded really interesting and cool. And I want to get into those, but obviously the big gut punch is the one that it reveals that they're like, it's going to be launching with 10 characters. That is less than we were unhappy about when it comes to Hunter x Hunter.
That is, I think, the second smallest tag roster ever.
Tag games,
Skullgirls is the only one.
Skullgirls at launch was one of those examples, and we talk about how when you play a game that uses more than one fighter on your team, you see them more often, so it wears out a little faster, you know.
So I would like to talk about the best case scenario and the worst case scenario for a 10 character tag game. The best case scenario, you're playing with 40% of the game's entire roster per match. And the worst case scenario is the balance is a little off and you're playing with the same 5% of the roster in every single match because Ari is on every team.
And one of your assists is locked in for a universal, for every single player.
Like the threat of like a ranked mode decided entirely by mirrors is very real with a 10-character roster.
So obviously it feels like this is a pace, 1 character per year of development that was not intended. That's pretty insane. And I think, going with this, Riot did give them the ability to be like, hey, take as long as you need to, make the thing, do what you got to do.
You took too long.
But over time, eventually, yes, right?
Too long.
And the thing is as well, I guess the idea is like, okay, they also want their releases to be massive gangbusters drops into whatever genre, right? So you don't just put out a Runeterra for it to not be the big card game. You don't put out a Valorant for it to not be the big shooter. Everything has that kind of like energy behind it. And so here it seems like that extra time was taken to make sure that this is like a really sick tag fighter that has a bunch of cool shit in it. But in exchange, the roster has not been developed at a pace that would be reasonably comparable to any other tag fighter.
So I'd like to take on a Steel and Strawman on something you said, which is a roster of 1 character per year, which is something that I was also saying when I talked about it on stream and social media, to which the immediate response, which is completely true and reasonable, they weren't taking 11.5 months to make a character.
No, that's just an average. Right? That's a rhetoric point to make an average.
It's not going to be 11 months before the next character. Obviously, they had to reboot development maybe once, maybe twice, maybe thrice, or there were other concerns or whatever, to which my built-in response is, 1, who cares? And 2, if they had to reboot development multiple times to the point where now, after a 9-year development cycle, we're up to 10 characters, it doesn't give me a lot of faith that development will continue smoothly going forward now that they have deadlines and a live game to deal with.
The Steel Man there being the same video saying that they were planning on ramping up character releases, and they didn't put a time frame on how frequently we would see them,
but it'd obviously be faster than what we're looking at now.
But yes, and so in our heads we think of like, okay, well, how fast do characters come out and other things, right? Certainly not going to be hitting that. You can't compare it to Marvel Rivals with the 90-day turnaround bit or whatever.
No, you compare it to League, where it's at 80. It's 8 weeks. Every 8 weeks there's a new character.
Well, is that the comparison, or is it to a fighting game where, or to like Street Fighter or so, where it's like, oh, you have like a month or two, in some cases, more or less, depending on what's happening with the character. So what I'll say as well is that like it looks like a lot of consideration is going into each character's kit, and they're being very, very detail oriented with it, and that means that each character can do a whole lot of cool shit. Like when they showed off what Jinx can do, it's impressive. It's super. She's a super cool looking zoner.
Absolutely.
With a lot of rad shit put into it. I bet most players would be satisfied with a little bit less to get a little bit more when it comes to that, right? With perhaps.
Hey, okay.
Not that a perfectionist, if someone has a perfectionist attitude, then like you want to make sure they have a standard that they want to release to. That is to say, what the average person is happy with might not necessarily apply. But if there was a compromise to be made there, I feel like that would be it.
Okay, so I have like a wide variety of thoughts on that, and I have spent some time in League. I'm not a League player, right? But I've spent time in League. League characters are not super complex. What they are is many. There's lots of them, right? And I'm seeing that they said, hey, there's only going to be 10 characters, but we're up to like 6 fuses now, which is like a groove. It's a gameplay variation on how the character would play. So the first thing that I notice is that now every single character they build.
Sorry, I just realized people might misinterpret what I said. I think most people would want more characters in exchange for a little less polish. Is what I was trying to say.
Absolutely, but I got that.
Just to clarify, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think we're up to 6 fuses, which is like a groove. Okay, so now what I'm hearing is that every single character they make, they have to balance around 6 different modes for that character. Not one, like in Street Fighter or Tekken or Virtua Fighter, but 6. That's a lot. They have given themselves a lot of work to make a new character not busted. Second of which, hey man, there's only 10 characters, but each character can be 6 different characters. Do they look different? No. Do they have different moves? No. Oh, but I would rather they have 0 fuses and 6 times as many characters like Marvel versus Capcom, because this is a League of Legends game, a property defined primarily by having an enormous roster. Like, that is the number one thing about League, is that it has a gigantic roster. Not that it's super deep, but that there's a million characters.
And amongst those characters,
it's totally inverted in importance.
And while you've got different archetypes here, definitely when we talk about the importance of some good old freak picks, for the appeal, it sounds like League has a giant roster of
170
freak picks and regular humans to choose from.
So I gave Wooly my phone, and I went to the League of Legends character website, and I told him to put his finger on it and just swipe as hard as he could. And he landed on a page that was 1 normal human and 3 freaks. And then he did it again and landed on 1 normal human and 3 freaks. The roster is caked with freaks.
I always remember, though, when we looked at that list of like popular in North America versus popular in Asia, and seeing like, the freaks are not popular in Asia. Like, we have a localized preference. We want freaks out here in the West, not international. But so this is, obviously I think like you have this is an example of like things are not obviously going according to plan with the timing on that. And here's go ahead.
I have to stop you. There was one other thing, because you were saying you would prefer less characters but more polish.
No.
And you know what?
That's not what I said.
No, sorry. Many would prefer less characters but with more polish, right?
I said the opposite. I said most would prefer less polish for more characters.
Less polish.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I am getting to the sorry. However, they're saying, but hey, look, our characters are super, super, super polished, right? And that's true, except for the fact that on the last Alpha Lab, the RE assist shit was wildly out of fucking control.
Yeah.
And with a character roster of 10, like we can't be sitting around waiting 3 months for Ari's assist to get fixed when there's a roster of 10, and that means Ari just becomes the secondary pick in every single fucking match. Like, that would kill that game.
So the best case optimistic half glass full scenario is all of the struggles up to now have been ironed out, and from this point forward, after Alpha Lab 2, we're going to be racing towards a production rate that has characters popping out every 2 months or something like that, right?
So that's my next question. What is the reasonable optimal rate of character release for you? Okay. Like reasonable, like that you think would be a possibility.
So there's 2 parts to it, right? I feel like there's a rate that would need to be accelerated in order to catch up to an amount people would want to see at launch, and then a relaxed rate after that.
Because I did math on it, and I was like, if we do 4 a year, how long is it going to take? And the answer is it would take like 2 years to catch up to like X-Men versus Street Fighter.
Yeah,
that's fucking ridiculous.
No, I think people would want something like 6 a year, and then after perhaps
2 years,
then we see that pace relax a little bit.
That would make sense.
Now, this is without getting into like the specifics of what they discussed yet, but I have to lay, of course, there's one huge factor that is on the opposite side of this argument, right? With a cost of $3.99, they are going to be the most competitive free fighting game in the free fighting game space, no matter what happens.
And no matter what. And this is where I get to a point I brought up to you at lunch, where
what does a dead free game look like?
I don't know. It's weird. Looks like so. No, but
you tell me. You know
what's the business model? The business model is aesthetics, costumes, doodads, right?
Yeah.
Like Marvel Rivals, basically.
Shutting down the servers, obviously, after.
Right.
Yes.
Like Marvel Rivals and 2XKO have the exact same business model.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I am looking at a roster of 10. Do you know what characters I want to play, Wooly? I want to play Illaoi and I want to play Darius.
Why are people saying Concord when that costs money?
I don't know.
All right.
And also no longer exists. But yeah, I want to play Illaoi and Darius. That's pretty of the existing roster. Those are the only two characters I want to play.
Yep.
This means there is a cap of like $15 to $25 that I can spend on that game because I'm going to buy one costume for Darius and I'm going to buy one costume for Illaoi, and that's it. That's it. That is the cap.
Here's the other thing now, and this is where I hate you have to get into the balance between expectation versus, like, on one hand you have healthy, reasonable expectations for like participating and playing a game and buying stuff in it, and then the other hand you have entitled whatever gamer, gimme now whatever, right? And you're like, okay, so are you gonna look at a premium costume and go, I want that premium costume? But if it's one that you don't want, then you go, damn it, that resource should have been spent making a character. And it's like, it's apples and oranges. It doesn't work that way.
Yes.
But you're like, that really cool costume that's a huge overwork visually of everything with the character should have been a new character. And it's like, it's a trap.
So, all right. So let me tell you right now.
It's a goddamn trap.
Ari, the Fox girl in Kada, is going to have many costumes. Many costumes.
Gotta sell.
And other characters will have less. And then you will look at the amount of costumes that Ari has, and you're going to go, you could definitely have cut half of these costumes to make a new character. On a man-hour, like, visual level. Not on a gameplay or design level.
Now, we'll see if they end up doing the, like, let's roll out a microtransaction suite that is like fucking constantly pumping cosmetics for people to buy or whatever to keep the keep it making money or so. But I feel like, whereas other free-to-play games are certainly like quick to get to that point, if I'm not mistaken, Riot has been willing to do things with like Runeterra and stuff where they're like kind of operating with the game at a loss for a while, giving you too much.
Runeterra currently exists as a single-player game.
Okay, so
that's its current life.
So it seems like they're kind of willing to just put something out, let it take a hit, and try to get it to be the number one thing in that genre until they eventually go, all right, well, fuck it, it's not working out, And
you know what? That makes sense. But if we get to a version of the world in which 2XKO builds itself up for 9 years and then goes into maintenance mode with 12 characters, boo, fuckers. Holy shit. You should have released a way worse game with 20 characters.
So yeah,
sometimes you have to take the pie out of the oven and serve it.
Sometimes you do, Now we get to have this conversation without the part that goes, people paid for something and then like didn't get that, and now they feel like they're owed a refund or some
Absolutely.
kind. Right?
The only thing we have paid for the Alpha Lab is our attention.
Yeah. So this is currently in that space where it's just like, okay, we're just operating on interest and goodwill, I think it being free will buy it a lot of leeway where this would not have flown for
absolutely 100%.
$80 US.
It's not Street Fighter 5, right? Because I bought Street Fighter 5. You bought Street Fighter 5, and there were a lot to complain about Street Fighter 5. But with 2XKO, what am I going to do? I'm going to stream it a bunch when it comes out.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to complain a bunch about it to you on the podcast. And at the end of that hour-long discussion of 2XKO's problems and how their rollout of new characters isn't long enough, you're going to go, but is it free though? And I'm going to go, yeah. And then you're going to do that shrug that you do. Yeah. And I'm going to do the shrug that I do. And we're both going to go, but it's free though. Right?
Because the thing where any other game at this point where people would be going like, fuck this, pre-order canceled, refunding the game or whatever, it's like nothing to refund. You click play now.
It's free though.
You know, so yes,
you can't refund it.
You get away with more when your game is free 99, 100%, and we expect microtransactions at that point versus being a fully just turned off in that regard. I will say that.
I want to make a point. I played that Alpha Lab. I think that game is great.
So
I think that I kind of buried that. I think 2XKO is great. I think it plays great.
So that's where I wanted to go next, is that we front-loaded a lot of the negativity around why 10 characters feels like it's too low for this type of game. With that being said, the Alpha Lab 2 video was a crazy 1 hour. All right, guys, you want to know what we've been up to? Well, here we're going to dump all of it. And it's an information overload, which they almost self-described as it being passive-aggressive almost, to be like, all right, here, let's give you more info than you possibly can handle. And a lot of
I could handle it.
And a lot of the stuff they discussed was some understandable, pretty cool changes. Something that didn't work the way they wanted it to was the ability for assist characters to just travel across the screen and then wait to see what you did, and then essentially either hit you and switch handshake tag to pick up the combo, wait for you to jump and then jump and grab you, or just wait for you to swing at the assist and then you can use your point character to stop them. And they're like, we got rid of that because that made the game not fun, and everyone was just jumping in with Ari and going nuts with that.
They also made a big deal to combos are smaller. They last time.
Yes. Now, what they then went on to explain as well, which is pretty huge, is the fuses, the grooves, if you would. They added Sidekick and Juggernaut, which...
Sidekick is a fucking version that I would like to play.
We have discussed this about getting, the whole, learning how to play kind of thing in there. If you want to play a support character in League or so, what you have here is a version of the game where one player, when you're two people, plays the point character, and then one person is the assist for the entire match. So instead of switching between the two of you actively, you can be somebody who's going to learn how to play just by supporting your friend and having your character jump out to extend their combos at the right time. And furthermore, you also get to do bracing, it's called, which is as your partner is getting hit, if you press a button at the same time as them getting hit, they take less damage, so you soften their damage, and that effect teaches you the rhythm of hitting buttons at the right speed or timing, So on defense, while not playing the main character, there's still enough for you to do to get used to how to play the game a little bit, the pace of how it works, and how to save your partner. You also have to be responsible on defense for breaking them out of a combo that they're taking damage from, or while they're blocking, jumping in and pushing the opponent away to the other side of the screen. This is all on the support character's job. So there's enough for them to do, and then in exchange for that, the main point character gets a little bit more life and a little bit more meter as well. And if you want to play as just one person, one character, there's now Juggernaut Fuse, which is, you're all one character. You've got 5 bars instead of 3, and you've got more life and more damage, and you're just going to go all in on one. It's interesting because a lot of people that, every time we talk about you've described as well for yourself, games with assists and hyper games and stuff, it's hard to get used to using a second character and when to use them.
I'm getting used to assists.
And I will say that so Skullgirls is a game where you can pick assists or single. I don't think playing a single character in this game will be enough to make up for not having an assist. Having an assist lets you do so much that it's going to be hard to imagine it being competitively strong enough, but who knows? We'll see if they balance it to make it that way. Maybe it'll be like in Capcom versus SNK 2 where you could pick one fucking Haomaru that just cuts the shit out of everybody on your opponent's team, you know? But if you are like, okay, I just want to learn the one character at a time, this is, you know, at least perhaps casually, I would say at the beginning levels, probably a decent way to go about doing that. You know, if you're just overwhelmed by having a second character to think about. Something smart about the way they did that too is even when you're just picking the Juggernaut 1-point character, you still pick a second character, and they sit as a dead life bar. And what that allows is, in between rounds, you can hold to switch to your backup character.
Yeah, because you're playing King of Fighters now.
Instead, you know? So if you were comfortable with your main and you had a second one you were trying out, you can try that character for round 1, and then if you lose, maybe switch to your more comfortable one, and then stay on that, you know, between at the beginning of each round. Furthermore, online, if you're 2 people, you can both be somebody, you can both be on Juggernaut, so that you're watching your friend play and then he tags you in instead, and now you're the full Juggernaut if you're not doing the support mode thing, and then you can basically be on a team of 2 together, you know? So that basically will help people play together and overall let you squad up, which I've really wanted fighting games to do.
I gotta take a break in a minute.
Yep.
But I want to just have some final thoughts. I feel like there's a massive mistake of implied expectations that the 2XKO team was like happy to let go. So League of Legends fighting game, and then they said that it was a tag game. I think it was maybe the most realistic expectation of anything in the world that this game would come out with a large roster to start, or at least a normal roster. Right? You said not according to plan, and I totally believe that 100%. But like, I made joke bad rosters for this game after the Alpha Lab made of nothing but humans. And even my joke worst roster ever still had like 18 characters on it. Just like crazy. But more than that, more than anything, all I can think of is that when I play Master Rank Street Fighter, which is not that hard, I'm not trying to brag, but it's like, you know, upper echelon of the ranked mode in Street Fighter, I'm really tired of fighting Ken. I'm just overwhelmingly tired of fighting Ken. And that is a roster of 26 people in which Ken is good and happens to be super popular. Because the game is free to play and you will have to unlock certain characters to play them, I am genuinely afraid for a user experience playing 2XKO in which you run into like 180 matches of Darius and Ari in a row, because they're the first characters that are available and they're good. Yeah. That is terrible.
And I think you're also describing top 8%, so don't sell yourself short there. But regardless, the variety, like I remember when I started playing Marvel 3, right, in particular, and I just wanted to pick the 3 characters I liked and try to make a team work around that, and lost so hard and so bad so consistently that I was sad and was like, damn, this just doesn't work. Synergy matters more. And I eventually had to concede and be like, no, I have to give up on at least one of these 2 characters to get a useful beam or arrow or projectile, you know?
I only like 2 characters in this roster. If they're both bad or one of them is bad, I'm just not going to play the fucking game. If Darius and Ilaoi are bad at launch, there is no one I want to play that game with.
So I don't know. I would love to know how long Rising Thunder took to make to the point it got to.
Well, they got 6 characters, so that means it took 8 years.
So I'd like to know how the pacing on that went and such, just for an idea, because now we're not just dealing, because there's 2 factors here that are clearly happening. One is they have an internal quality metric that's quite high that they are striving for, but then also there is the Riot pressure that it must be, you know, tangible at some point to be like, this has to disrupt and be on the main stage right away, right? It can't be coming out and being like, congrats, you're doing numbers over MK1 and Uniest, you know? Like, it's got to be up there with Tekken and Street Fighter.
If the game is at Evo and top 8 is literally the same team 8 times, then the game's a joke. And that's a threat when there's only 45 combinations.
It is. I think the same thing applies to every fighting game we're discussing today, which is, man, if it drops and it's fun to play, that'll be great. You know? But I will say that, like, overall, there is that thing where with 2XKO, it could be a slow-ass rollout, and maybe people will be like, yeah, I'll check back in when that roster comes along, and then sometime from now it does. You know, but I just,
if it continues to exist,
but I don't know what the Riot time limit is.
Because a free-to-play game has to hit right away. It has to hit right away,
and we don't know what the right. Yeah.
Runeterra didn't, and Runeterra got to live for a year and a half in its competitive state. We saw Rumbleverse fucking die. Like,
Ryuk, I will take the Death Note eyes to see the number above 2XKO's head to know how long it has to fucking get there.
It has to have a roster of 16 by the end of 2026, or it's cooked.
I think you're being conservative.
Oh, yeah? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
6 characters between 2 years from now?
No, because it's going to come out in fall of 25.
Okay. From fall 25 to end, so a year and a half.
Yeah, I'll give them 14 months to do 6 characters.
I'm still calling that conservative.
Yeah, so it does have to be every 8 weeks, huh?
Yeah.
It has to be every 8 weeks at least.
We got to roll. You know, we do need to roll.
That's hard. And you know what I'm afraid of? If they do announce, like, this is me being a fucking nitpicker to hell. If they announce character every 8 weeks, I'm gonna like, well, shit, it took you fucking 9 years to make these fucking characters, and you're banging out these ones in 8 weeks. Shit, are they gonna be like shit, like compared to the existing roster? Are they gonna like look bad and play bad compared to like Braum and Alawi and Ari?
Because the answer to your question earlier was, like I said, I think you need to catch up to where expectations are, then you can go with a relaxed pace. But the catch-up time frame is like go, and you know, we have an idea of what we've heard about from stuff about what might be coming, but it's just like, yeah, I really hope we can see it deliver at what they imply is a good pace after launch. You know,
right, I gotta take a quick break. I gotta pee, and we gotta come back and talk about Nintendo because we only have like an hour and a half left.
BRB. All right. I wanted to drop one last thought.
Do it. Drop it. Like a big turd right in the fucking middle of 2XKO.
I really hope
right in Jinx's mouth.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Anyway.
He's depressed. You won't even care.
I'm just saying, I really hope that, like, in a year from now, these are all just temporary woes, and they're not going to be these issues at the forefront while everyone's just enjoying the game. But, like, I'm thinking of, yeah, all right. But I'm thinking of, so Arslan Ash.
It's a thought, guys. It's a thought.
Arslan Ash made a tweet where he said, after he was very, very vocally upset about Tekken 8 Season 1, and then, like, he tweeted out, guys, I think we were too ungrateful for Season 1, sad face.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just like, the difference in golf is just like, okay, this is business as usual upset versus, holy fuck, how did we get here? And it just kind of makes me think, Street Fighter 6 really is just currently the best consumer product fighting game.
Yeah, we had this discussion, and I brought you said that, and I'm like, yeah, you know what my number one complaint about Street Fighter 6 is? There's not enough costumes for me to buy.
Yeah, like the fact that there's modes like extreme versus modes and team modes and shit that everyone forgot about means you've already gotten like more than you've bargained for there. There's shit you don't even have to think about with the package, right? And like, whilst previous Smash Brothers games have put out like insane amounts of content as well, those games didn't have rollback and they had terrible online. So this is the best, including the ability to fucking play it and have really good online matches, you know? Yeah, I just kind of am like, things are gonna have to try to aim for what Street Fighter 6 did, essentially, from here on out. All right.
So the Nintendo Direct happened at the ass end of yesterday, a couple days ago morning. Was way too early. Fuck you, Nintendo. Fuck you, pieces of shit. 6 a.m. Pacific. That's a pile of fucking bullshit.
Lol. But I waited and watched a bunch of trailers.
Yeah, what it did, well, watching it live was much better, though, because what I did is the end of that fucking presentation, I talked to chat for 10 minutes, then I sprinted to the house, snuck into the bedroom, and stole Paige's phone. Then I went downstairs and turned the internet off to every device that could connect to it. And then said, you gotta get up, you gotta go stream now. And she went, what? Why? And I said, the Nintendo Direct was something. And she said, what is it? And I said, it's all things to all people. Get over to the office and fucking stream a reaction. No, I will not give you your phone back until she promised to not look at it.
Really? Wow.
You will create React content.
God damn. Okay. Well, there was a lot there. Yeah, I would say that, you know, Nintendo dropping a console announcement with 60 games, I think, were dropped.
It's a lot.
Was pretty impressive.
It's a lot.
And it sounds like everyone was super duper thrilled until the price dropped.
So yeah, let's talk about the price first.
Sure, because there's a whole lot of games. $450 USD, which turns into 600 Canadian.
629.
And
629 Canadian.
And $80 USD for games, which turns into $110 Canadian.
Now, this is really important. I want to say two things to our primarily American audience. There is a certain level of Schadenfreude, whatever, the German shit. Schadenfreude. Seeing Americans go, oh my God, $80 for a video game.
That's
welcome to fucking 2013 of my life.
That's the number we were screaming at a couple of years ago.
Okay. And yes, I know relative value of the dollar, obviously, but it's just funny, right? And of note, and that was $450 US as of the morning of the direct, whereas 2 or 3 hours later, national economic policy changes came into play that could kick up the price of a Nintendo Switch 2 in the United States to approximately $650 to $700 at retail.
Now, I've seen people saying that this is not that like I've seen people say that like, oh, tariffs are not a part of this and that's a misunderstanding. I'm not an economist, so I can't get to the bottom of it, but I can say that that doesn't sound right to me, because when I see the extra story, which is Japan is getting a Japan only version of the Switch that's locked, that's way cheaper and locked to language, I go, well, that doesn't seem to be a thing that would not be affected by tariffs. Otherwise, why would they make that, right? So I saw a bunch of people go like, no, it's not related. I'm like, I don't know. It seems like it is.
Yeah,
but
the global economy is related to the price of things.
Yeah. So making
the economic times in which we live does affect the prices of things.
And I feel like a very clear, like, oh, don't worry. If you are Japanese and live here, you can buy it for a normal price, like option, kind of underlines that point, right?
Because of the nature of the back and forth on this, there's the conceivable possibility that at retail, in local dollars, a Switch 2 will cost the same in Canadian as it would in local dollars in the US, which is going to cause every Canadian town near the border to be flooded on June 5th with sudden American visitors going, hey, man, you got those Switch 2s? And the answer will be no.
No. Yeah.
We don't, actually.
Let's see. A return to region locking because of the policy is wild. I really thought we were over the best of it, but yeah, I've seen as well, like I kind of saw the live Treehouse thing going for day 2 or so, clicked it, and I just saw like the chat just going, I'm like, yeah, that's about right.
Lower the price.
There are definitely enough people amongst this that are like, there's a point that I would have been upset at, but you're like, God fucking damn it. Of course, they're going to slowly cook the pot up and cook the frog in the pot by turning it up point by point. This threshold has blown past people's ability to actually get the console and get the games.
Yeah.
Like, so straight up, it is a like clear, like, no, I cannot participate.
So it's this thing. It's like, am I going to sit here and go, the political realities of our time mean that Nintendo has to charge this much? I'm saying, of course, Nintendo saw increased costs and went, I bet we could juice it just a little bit extra, make a little cut, ride this out. And we transfer, manufacturing to Vietnam to dodge some of these costs. And whoops, that was actually a really fucking terrible idea. Holy shit.
All of a sudden.
Wow. Holy fucking shit.
All of a sudden, that Asus Microsoft Game Pass box maybe seems like it has a place.
Right. But yeah, no, you can't possibly ignore the economic realities of our time in various nations as a result of the increased prices of these things. And I genuinely believe that $450 figure is going to be the MSRP from Nintendo to Best Buy USA. I don't think Best Buy USA, the people that would have to pay the increased cost to import, are going to eat a fucking 40% surcharge on an imported electronic and sell it below cost.
I think I saw
consumers.
I saw a bunch of people making memes that are just like Nintendo like roping themselves while Sony and Microsoft sit on the side and stay winning, or PC stay winning or so. And I'm like, you fucking idiots.
These pieces are all built in the same countries.
If a new PlayStation 6, if we were discussing a PlayStation 6 announcement, you don't think it would be even more insane? You don't get that this is all really relative?
Right now? You know who is sweating their ass off right now? Do you remember 2 years ago when we were told the next Xbox is going to be the most powerful console ever created in the history of the medium, i.e. the most expensive PC in a box ever released. So if they were planning to send that out at $600 or $700, that thing's going to cost $1,200 fucking dollars.
That's what
they're fucking freaking out.
Like the level of stupidity to just be like, it's just Nintendo. It's like, no. Like $699, right, back in the day was that wild number when that was the company just deciding its price point. Throw on the cost of a fucking new console with that level of like greed on it, while also doing tariff damage.
Yeah, because we have to keep
flying
the
above $1,000.
So we just throw the cost on plus the new cost the investors want.
Like it's insane. So yeah, so
if you can't afford this, we'll be playing these games on stream, so don't worry about it.
But just that is across the globe, you know.
Just switch to PC gaming. What, you think the fucking semiconductors in a fucking NVIDIA card are going to be safe from worldwide economic calamity?
Well,
you fucking insane.
Well, you switch to the thing you currently have. Do you currently own it? You know,
a buddy of mine in Discord just like an hour ago said it's called the Switch 2 because you switch to a more affordable hobby.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus Christ, with the fucking NVIDIA shit and on top of it. Yeah, you know, it's anyway, saving all of that for the Treehouse Post Direct thing, I guess, was probably the right move, because like in the thing themselves, they're like, we're currently eyeing the tariff situation and we'll let you know because we don't fucking know how this is gonna shake out. Anyway,
nobody foresaw this level of tariff, so it was difficult to plan. I bet that if they knew these numbers were coming, we would have looked at a different base price. And honestly, if they knew this was coming a couple years ago, we would have looked at a different base hardware.
Exactly, right? Nintendo's in an extra weird place because they always sit in the pocket, never dropping their prices, but also coming in below the level of the other competition to be like, nah, we're doing our own thing, and, you know, we can be a little bit more affordable, but we're going to offer you a little bit less, and you're just going to buy it because you know the characters you want to see. You know, and like here, that's coming in. They're coming in first and hot on this new world we live in. Just who knows how things will go, but if they are the way they are now, any new releases and consoles and hardware announcements will follow suit.
My main thing is that yelling at Nintendo to drop the price is cathartic and feels good, but ultimately useless, because part of the realities of why they set those prices have nothing to do with them. Some of them is they want the money, and they don't drop their prices because they want the money. But the world changed around them.
Keep your eyes
very suddenly, actually.
Keep your eyes on anything else from Japan that you buy and see how that goes. And yeah, and then also this kind of just is like, well, Toby Fox is out here being nuts, you know, like he just doesn't care.
Of course he is. Like, of course he is.
Yeah, just that's what that is, you know. Okay, so in terms of the actual thing, well, let's start with the exciting, the Duskbloods. Motherfucker,
the one that caused everyone to become Tails from the seminal work Tails Gets Trolled.
I mean, just fine. You don't want to make Bloodborne? Well, do it fucking so.
How about I smudge the fucking name off it and just write it in with marker?
Oh man, the just
crazy.
Sony sitting in the cuck chair while Nintendo and FromSoft as the wife are like, "Are you sure it's okay?" You know, just it is.
As Sony desperately tries to find the key to its chastity belt.
I mean...
Oh no, I think I threw it out with those papers.
So I will say this is a bit of a Night Rain situation, though, because the scope seems to be smaller than we might think.
Yeah, it's a player versus an environment multiplayer game.
Which, like Night Rain, is you know, I'm thinking of as well the other whatever the mashmack mode of you know the mecha breakdown I just played. But yeah, what you're getting there is you're getting, okay, so that trailer starts off with the hands and the thing, and you're like, FromSoft voice acting, FromSoft direction, sure enough, and you're like, cool, it's vampires, and that's a dinosaur, and that's a jetpack, and those are guns. My brain, even as I speak to you right now, keeps calling it the Pale Bloods.
I kept calling it Duskborn for an entire day, despite the fact that that's not the name of the game.
I can't stop thinking Pale Bloods. It's just locked in, you know? But yeah, if this is in fact going to be a game that is mainly about going into multiplayer sessions with up to 8 players, and then your 2 teams of 8 while there's a boss to deal with and you can deal with each other as well, it's going to be much smaller in scope. It's not going to be a big, large lore mise-en-scène to the full nth degree, you know, Souls entry. It's going to be one of these kind of side things. But I'm sure, you know, Nintendo was proper happy to have that exist, and I kind of wonder, is this being funded like Bayo was in the back, you know, to where
100%,
where
easy.
they just said,
no question,
make us our own Bloodborne,
or else it would be on everything.
We'll see.
Or else it would be on everything.
Yeah, but like I just know that I'm like, timed exclusives sometimes happen, whatever. But if that's Nintendo just going like, do what they won't do, then sure. It's still like would not fully scratch the itch as a proper full ass FromSoft Souls entry.
Sure, but hey man, I'll take it. It'll probably be cool.
Yeah. And I think that's why the releases that we've seen from them, it's like, oh, that's why they can put out this many, is because like they're going into smaller, you know, multiplayer focused releases, you know.
Also, I feel like there's a Japanese man out in Osaka working at Capcom watching this trailer going, yo, what the fuck? People love this dinosaur shit, but they don't show up for Exoprimal.
PvP.
It's the same thing.
PvP dinosaurs, god damn it. We did it first.
Why is it different because it's from software? What? People like Capcom games. You don't get it, man.
You see that fucking jetpack? We had a jetpack.
I see that jetpack.
We had a jetpack. Anyway, so that's cool. Mario Kart World. As I was watching
the Treehouse shit this morning. That.
Oh yeah.
It's whoa.
Yeah. Okay.
It's gonna be fucking good.
Okay.
It's gonna be good Mario Kart game.
Because I had to say, like, as I was watching the trailer, like the first half of it, I had that thing where I was like, kind of like the last ones. I'm like, yeah, I loved me some Mario Kart. I enjoyed this series thoroughly back in the day, but I think it's kind of passed me by. It'll definitely continue to be something that if it's on at a friend's place and it's going on, I'll be down for it. Or hell, I'll be down to throw it on if people are over. But in terms of like actively going in, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of just a little over it.
Bro, they made Burnout Paradise into a Mario Kart game.
And then they swerved off the track and went, actually go any, and I'm like, oh, wait, hold on. When they just swerved off and went anywhere, I was like,
bro, let me
that's
tell you,
pretty good.
Let me look at you in your eyes. Let me look at you in your ocular sockets. Are you ready? I have an almost 2-year-old. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Mario Kart World, best game ever made.
Yeah, sure.
Just straight up best game ever made.
It wasn't until I saw that part that I was interested. If it was like just another new update to the franchise, I was like, okay, yeah, we know, that's cool. But that certainly got an interest point there. And then what? Donkey Kong Bonanza. Yeah, sure, cool, run it.
That looks. I watched the preview of it this morning. Hey, guess what? It looks incredible.
Shout outs to the edit on Triple Q's channel. I think it's Red Faction Gorilla.
Yeah,
just
absolutely
breaking through the ground and throwing shit and just Donkey Kong is great. Donkey Kong is too strong for the planet. He's a threat. He's an existential threat.
Looks amazing.
Looks like what? 64. Going back in the day, where what a proper 3D Donkey Kong should have been. Looks cool. The Welcome Tour, which is bafflingly...
Miyamoto got his wish. Now that Reggie Fils-Aimé is gone
incredible.
And can't tell him to include Wii Sports,
shout-outs to Gene
Miyamoto
Park.
can be like, no, they're going to buy the fucking demo.
Gene went and dug up the article where Reggie Fils-Aimé begged Miyamoto to make Wii Sports free, and he didn't want to because he did not believe that anything that they worked hard on should be given away for free. And it's like, what happened?
Boy, was Reggie right about that. Boy, oh my God.
Well, he convinced them because it's a new technology, and he thought, like, oh, we need to convince people what this new thing is and give them an idea. And it's so crazy because I'm like, what happened to the Mario and Duck Hunt Nintendo?
That was like 50 years ago.
Yeah, and when people saw a game included with the Wii, they remembered that and went, that's cool.
I bet Miyamoto was pissed off about that in fucking 86.
Way back when.
This is fucking bullshit.
I distinctly remember how friends of mine and like family were like legit like, cool, there's this good game that it comes with, and then from there you can pick what else to get. You know, the attachment rate stress. I remember
buying a PlayStation and it didn't come with a game, and my parents were like, what the fuck?
I got a bunch of demo discs with my magazines, you know. Yeah. So this is a guide around the Switch, and it's going to
looks cool.
$80 USD?
No, it's like $20.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It should really be included. It's ridiculous that it's not.
Especially since it's like learn about the console, you know.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. The Astrobot thing was free.
If they just came out and said the game is free, but you have to pay the cost of the tariffs, then that would have been one thing. Yeah, specifically. Motherfucking Kirby Air Riders. And the moment it says director, I'm like, oh, you're hanging too long for it to be anyone else. Right?
Yeah, and it's like, hey, why are they releasing Mario Kart World and then like 3 months later Air Riders? Isn't that some racing game overlap? And all I can think of is Sakurai was like, I will only work for you again if you let me make another Kirby Air Riders game.
Right? He got exactly what he wanted because he was ready to chill right into the sunset.
And they will allow him to make the Air Riders game, and afterwards he will have his arms replaced with spikes and get right on to making the new Smash.
Well, at least he gets a chance to fucking just mentally reset, right, and come back at this thing. Because I hope that whatever Smash does next is a change, you know?
I think the change that Smash Brothers needs to make is to add 25 more characters.
I hate it. I hate it so much. It's so upsetting. We got Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment.
Great, that looks good. Fine.
Sure. And Dusk X Drive, which is like cool. Wheelchair basketball looking like fucking, whatchamacallit, soccer cars.
Yeah,
all dope. I mean, Kirby Air Riders in particular, I just fucking shit's gonna be banger.
We've got Switch 2 versions of existing games.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of performance patches that have been announced.
Diamond X
for
Machina,
various games.
Titanic Scion looked rad as shit.
It did look good. I hope it doesn't have so much story in it because the Diamond X Machina story was terrible.
And my thought too, here's extra confirmation that like the Dusk Bloods, god damn it, is going to be a kind of, you know, side serving, is that they're properly porting Elden Ring as a whole to be like, here's your major single player adventure that you'd want.
By the way, to folks in the chat who are saying paid patches for the performance stuff, some games on the Switch 2 are going to get updated versions that have new stuff, and that's how they're going to convince people to pay for them. Many games are just going to get patched to just work better on the Switch 2. There's a list of them out right now, but there's more coming. No, it's a whole confusing mess.
But there's a bunch of those games you can transfer ownership over to the 2 and then just boot it on the 2.
And it should work better
without the paid upgrade, right? And then what did we see? Deltarune chapters 1 to fucking 4 on launch.
1, 2, 3, 4. Which I was waiting for my wife to see that announcement, and she took that announcement like a gun to her head because Deltarune 1 and 2, we were talking about this. Deltarune 1 and 2 were a million years ago. We lived in a different place, in a different house. We were not married. We did not have a child. So Deltarune Chapter 1 came out. You know what we did when Deltarune Chapter 1 came out?
2018 and 2021. God damn.
You know what we did when Deltarune Chapter 1 came out, Wooly? We've went, okay, and ran down to the basement and started streaming like 30 minutes later.
Yeah.
You know what? And blew through it in a single fucking... maybe we were married for the second one, but I can't remember.
2021.
Probably. When Deltarune Chapter 2 came out, you know what we did? We went, okay, and ran down to the basement and fired it up and did the whole thing in one shot.
Holy shit. I didn't...
Now,
yeah.
Deltarune 3 and 4, we have to plan a whole week around this. We have to purge our social medias. We have to, like, it's like a fucking to-do.
Yeah, same here, you know, going through it with Punch Mob. I did not feel like Deltarune 1 was 6 years ago.
It was 20 years ago.
Holy shit. I mean, if that's the way you can make your Undertale follow-up piece by piece, that's cool.
And 4 to 7 will come later.
But the feeling that I did not have just now is the magic of this being released in chapters every 3 years, I guess. Right?
Well, so chapter 1, 2, 3, 4 are going to come out on June 5th, and 5, 6, and 7 are going to be downloads, which means that what you will get is the same experience you had for every chapter of Deltarune is, hey, guess what, shithead, it's out. Or is out in 2 weeks or the month or what, like,
yeah,
just shadow dropping every single part of it.
And I get it, because obviously Undertale was a long, huge in the making moment that you don't know how that's going to get received, you know? But now that you're in the shadow of that and everyone's looking, you can't go about it the same way, or you can, and then you get your little Silk Song drop in that montage. 2025, it was there. No one can say it wasn't. Enter the Gungeon 2 is 3D,
bro. So I had to switch from the US stream to the UK stream because it was really behind. It was like 5 seconds behind in audio, like the audio was desynced. So I switched over and just saw the giant Gungeon Bullet Man and the logo and just went,
that's cool. That's cool.
Like I squealed. I fucking squealed.
That's an
like a little piggy.
That's an art style that can make the jump and still keep the charm, I think. Yeah, for sure.
Fucking love Enter the Gungeon, man.
I don't remember if I already knew this or forgot, but IO working on a 007 game sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to see if it, you know, has that element to it, where instead of just being like a first-person shooter or something like that, if it's much more spy-based.
Well, I mean, it's IO, you know,
precise,
it's IO, so that makes perfect sense, right? Because the gadgets and the traps.
Exactly. The hope is that
the goofy shit. Just make a Hitman game and just fucking call it 007 and just have some of the objectives not be murder.
Well, I was gonna say, because like
that's it.
47 is just offing people left and right, and Bond is too, but he's got to be, you know, like sleeping with them first and so on. So, you know what looks fucking dope? And
what's that?
Marvel Cosmic Invasion.
It does. It looks fucking great.
It looks super cool.
You know what doesn't look fucking dope? Nintendo deciding to empower you in your fucking weirdo controller bullshit with their Joy-Con and a mouse setup being built into their fucking console.
It's not my fault that the world finally caught up. Ooh,
disgusting.
Damn. Wow.
Disgusting.
Who knew? You know, me couldn't be. It's not like I'm prophetic or anything.
Also, the Joy-Cons have Hall effect sensors for the analog sticks.
Yeah, they lock in, and you don't have springs to fucking wear off, which is great. That should just become the standard. Boy, squinting and looking at that Street Fighter 6 default layout on one Joy-Con is insane. It's like okay, you've got 2 lights, 2 mediums, you got heavies up here, and then drive, impact, and parry, and then click click R3 for DI, and
crazy.
Oh god,
ridiculous.
I really, really hope no one needs me to drive rush cancel any buttons. You know, just tiny little stick.
Pardon me.
But yeah, that's going to come with its own wacky switch modes. And then what else did we see there? Yeah, just ports of other stuff.
Yeah, there was a port of a game called Silksong that was announced for this year, and then they just skipped past it like it wasn't important.
I think too as well they made a point to say like, hey, look, we're getting Cyberpunk, we're getting Elden Ring, we're getting FF7, so real games are here, guys. We can do it. We're powerful enough, right? It's like anything current gen can show up here, so it'll be fine until the next gen gets jumped into.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then we're fucked.
So now that we've done our bit and skipped past it like the Nintendo presentation did it not feel like an act of ridiculous violence to throw a 3-second clip of Silksong in the sizzle reel for the 2025 release date?
My brain filtered.
What?
My brain filtered it. I saw colors blur across the screen, and then I had a seizure and woke up, and the rest of it continued.
Like I looked at it, and like my eyes bugged out of my head, and before I could even speak, I was like, it was gone. Like, I know big. Yeah, this is here. Come on.
Like I thought I saw Silksong, but it was just Randy Pitchford in a suit. Yucking it up.
And a bad toupee. And then Nintendo put out a tweet that said, hey, it's coming to the Switch 2 this year, 2025. And then the Team Cherry guys retweet it, but notably did not make any announcements or responses of their own. Which I think is because Microsoft has to advertise it as a Game Pass game, which makes me think that this is maybe the worst deal anyone's ever taken.
I'm strongly considering starting a bit where I pretend this game does not exist from this point forward.
Yeah, even like you can stream it and just be like, it's weird. It's a shame Silksong never came out.
Like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Change the titles of the uploads to like Hollow Knight 2. Don't include words.
Is anyone else seeing this weird thing where the game title is just not showing up on Twitch? I don't know what the fuck is going on. Yeah. So, and then a bunch of other stuff thrown in there and so on. But I think Metroid Prime 4 is a rad ass thing that we got to see a little bit more of earlier in the week as well.
That's cool.
Yeah. Hey, new suit looks sick. Psychic powers for the whatever new gimmick to do things. Okay, sure. No problem. Run it. I don't care. Like, whatever, dumb new accessory ability or
hey, you know what? I'll play a new Metroid game. Hell yeah.
Yeah, and since I've gotten Dread the other day, and that 2D need is out of my system, I'm super game for some priming.
Absolutely.
Let's yuck it up. Let's have some fun. Can't wait for fucking just essentially any of those physics puzzles where you from playing first-person puzzle games for the last 10 years are finally going to be like, ooh, Samus, slide the block and put the square into the square and then unlock the Chozo path. Did you put the star in the star? Cool. Anyway, cool stuff. Good music. All fine.
You see Nintendo deciding to reinvent Discord?
You know what, man? They're trying. They're giving it a shot when beforehand they were like, we pretend we do not see it.
So I'll tell you what, Willie.
Fucking whatever.
I was watching that shit, and you know what I saw? I saw an incredible tool for content, is what I saw. Hey, Wooly, you want to play Mario Kart on stream together? Yeah, cool. all right, here's me on Wooly's stream in the corner and Wooly on Pat's stream in the corner
with a terrible quality camera,
10 FPS feed ever,
the worst fucking, again, Discord filtering out the background level green screen bullshit happening, you know.
Hey man,
but yeah, press the C button.
It's for the content.
Now at least you can chat with friends and have shit happen now, as opposed to the past when it was like, okay, did you turn your keys at the same time?
I can't wait to load in and just like have the camera focused on some dude's fucking dong.
Oh, just spread cheeks, you know. Absolutely. Which, you know what, I'll take that if the trade-off was send each other your social insurance numbers and add those to your friend account.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, all right.
Somebody asked in the chat how long until someone spreads their asshole right into the camera. They've done that at Nintendo. They're testing it now. They're trying to figure out an algorithm to detect asshole.
How do we make sure? How do we catch it while the green screen is happening behind it?
Yeah.
And it has the auto noise filtering crisp tech as well. So
so it's an NVIDIA thing. So it's the stuff that we've been using on our cards every now and then. It's decent.
Yeah, but like when bad background shit starts going off, you also start sounding like shit as well, depending on how high pitched it is.
Also, we've discovered that the noise cancellation removes Paige's voice.
Oh,
from all recordings.
If it's trained to your voice, then yes. Okay, so the default setting. Interesting.
When I turn the NVIDIA thing on, if Paige is anywhere but sitting directly in front of this microphone, it just removes her completely.
Is she a vampire?
Something about her voice registers to technology as background noise to be ignored.
Like, ooh, filter that.
Yeah, no, you don't need. Oh no.
Hey! Oh no, you can't even hear her saying "hey" in the background there. It's gone.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. I know, it's crazy. No, people who watch the streams in which I had that on can vouch. Like she would be visible in the background, and she would be being actively erased.
That's great. That's solid. Good bit. Anyway, yeah. So that's pretty much all there was to it, I suppose. I didn't check out much beyond the Treehouse extras, though. Did they get into anything else interesting after the fact?
They showed off Donkey Kong. They showed off a lot of Mario Kart World. They showed off Metroid.
Okay.
Of special note for the GameCube games coming back. Oh,
yeah.
man, everybody in the whole world just losing their mind at Soul Calibur 2.
It's weird to see.
I'm glad.
That's really cool that that's included. As same for F-Zero GX. It's weird that Wind Waker is going to be there when there's an upgraded Wind Waker.
Not that you can play on the Switch, you can't.
Came out the other day. That's a weird one, but
that's a Wii U game, man.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying, right? It's just
import that shit.
Like if I wanted to go back, might as well just fucking do.
You know what I really fucking think is genuinely incredible? They're releasing a special Nintendo Switch 2 GameCube controller so you can play your GameCube games. And then they were like, we should really put a fighting game on this GameCube backwards compatibility roster. Let's make sure that it's a fighting game that people want and will want to play. That's right. Soul Calibur 2 is a game that people are going to itch to play with their GameCube controller on their Nintendo Switch 2. And that's the only one that will ever show up. There is a fighting game that they technically own completely that they will never, ever put on that shit.
I wonder if they will concede that point eventually, because I think it's trapped behind glass and it's directly antithetical to selling copies of Ultimate. However,
I totally I think the Melee community, while loud and ever present and smelly, is actually in a numerical sense incredibly small. Like a raw worldwide numbers sense, very small, and they will never ever like sabotage the new Smash ever.
I'll see you and I'll raise you. I think I think a version, because they went back and they added multiplayer to GX as well, right?
They did. That was a big deal.
I bet you Melee with upgraded multiplayer exists inside Nintendo's offices, and they went, no. I bet you that project exists in a folder somewhere on a build. I bet you someone worked on it at some point. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see how that comes along.
I think if Nintendo could go to your house and snap your Melee disc, they would. Like, genuinely.
They said there's 2 USB-C ports, top and bottom, and then they showed the dock.
Dude, that's like such a no big deal feature. It is so awesome.
It's really nice.
So awesome.
It's really nice to not have to choose between, power and accessory and a camera now, I guess, but that's why.
And also, you don't have to argue with the designer post buying the thing of like, oh, I wish the port was on the top. Man, I wish the port was on the bottom. Depending on where you're sitting and where your plug is, and
Did we see an Ethernet cable?
It's part of the dock.
Great. We're not going.
Ethernet cable is part of the dock.
Wonderful. Cool. Yeah. Okay. No complaints.
And there's an audio jack in the controller.
Oh. Sick. Is it a headphone jack or is it a...
Yes, it's a headphone jack.
16.
I don't know what
okay, because
it's a headphone jack.
Because there's the tiny one and then there's a standard size and
Yeah, it's a standard size.
Okay, sick. Great.
And the Pro Controller comes with extra buttons on the back that you can map to anything in any game.
Turn that crazy shit off. Immediately turning off those paddles. I hate paddles.
Why?
I can't... Because
Wooly?
No. I fat hand grip.
Okay.
I can't.
No. Hold on. I want to ask you a legitimate question.
Yep.
And I don't want you to roll your eyes because it's not something that you usually do.
Yeah, that's okay.
When you are playing Call of Duty and you want to reload and jump without pulling your thumb off the analog stick and you don't have paddles, what do you do?
Understood. Okay, they're not for me. I hate them.
That is the reason for those.
Got it. Every game I play ever, I always hate them. I need them off the controller. I accidentally hit them too often, and I've played with them when they first came out on the Elite Xbox 360 controller or whatever, the black one. And then that shit was terrible. And then I got them again. They're on the PS5 DualSense special, and they're just the worst. And I take them off because I always hit them accidentally. And
so
if you guys are out there and you're like, you don't grip it as hard, and that's not an issue for you, that's awesome. I wish I had your hands, but for me, it's just it's a non-starter.
You gotta be delicate, man.
It's a non-starter. I cannot play a video game with the paddles on the back like that.
So like that is a design element that was created for a genre, and it just happens to be the most popular genre. Fortnite, Call of Duty.
Fortunately,
Destiny.
on both the 360 Elite or Xbox Elite and DualSense, whatever.
Yeah, you can actually just pull them off.
They come right off, so it's never been an issue. I've taken them off, put them away, and it's not a problem whatsoever. But it's like not even when I'm not death gripping, because I know that sometimes I do when in a stressful thing or whatever, like that's just the way I respond to things. If I'm stimulus is happening, even if I take a moment to actively be like, hold it lightly, my hands are still resting in such a way where it's feeling secure, it's accidentally triggering sometimes. My fingers just do, people's hands are different, man. It just doesn't work for me.
So this, I'm holding a PlayStation 5 controller in my hand. This is my favorite controller ever. No question. Like, absolutely no question. I love this fucking thing. The Hall effect sensors on the Pro controller for the analog sticks and these back buttons, I might switch to Nintendo Switch 2 controllers for everything on my PC.
Oh, for Bluetooth connection purposes.
Because I want those things, and I've been playing Pro controller with Monster Hunter GU lately, and that Pro controller, the Nintendo one, is solid. It is a solid game.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty used to the DualSense as my standard right now. I'll have to see how this feels before switching it up. I also hate them on the back of the Steam Deck as well. And in fact, whenever I can, I like using the Steam Deck with a controller in the USB. I much prefer a better controller than using the default side stuff. Those don't feel as good to me. Okay, let's take some emails.
Hey, if you want to send in an email, send it to castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com. That's castlesuperbeastmail@gmail.com.
I can't believe we got it all in.
That's what she said. Or he, I don't care. Or them, whatever.
Yeah, you're available. All holes open.
Did you ever read that fucking "Am I the Asshole" about no loads refused? That's one of the funniest fucking ones ever.
So I was going for the alt version of that effectively, because I'm like it's one of those two, right? Yeah, it's like all holes open or no loads refused. There you go. All right, we got one coming in. Hey, Iron, Wooly, and Patman. I've been playing a lot of Marvel Rivals, and I noticed a weird reaction within the community regarding costumes. Sometimes a skin releases and people complain that it's too similar, waste of money, and dev time. For example, people complained that the Insomniac Spidey suit was another boring red and blue suit, or the MCU Moon Knight skin was another white suit with a hooded cape. My theory...
I can totally understand that.
My theory is that these people don't really engage with the superhero comic book stuff and are coming from other games like Overwatch. Characters that are original to that game, they can go wild with skins and redesigns, while Rivals is based off of decades of characters with iconic designs and color schemes with slight variations, so those skins are made for fans for those specific versions, like the Insomniac suit.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, shit. There's the Flash Thompson Venom. Well, there's the Space Knight Venom outfit. Right, and then there's the new one as well that's like, again, the military look, and it has a little bit more symbiote to it, but they kind of have the similar energy, and I mean the new one looks a lot cooler. But yeah, these details make a huge difference for years of legacy and you for caring about that. Of course, look at the Spider-Man suits in the Spider-Man game, right? Yeah, do you have other examples of things that are like that, I guess, where it's easy to tell apart old fans versus new in their demands?
When you play SVC Chaos and it's got fucking 10 Shotos on there and go, but they're all different, and like, shut up. Put a different type of character in there, you fucking freak.
No.
I don't give a shit that they're all technically different.
Ryo's How Shikoken, you do the extra input and then his regular Shikoken fades out a few steps in front of him.
By the way, I want to respond to the emails, like text particularly, in that I completely understand what they mean by specific comic runs having specific looks, even if they're similar to other looks. I totally agree with the people that you are describing. If you are putting out new costumes for purchase, they should all look different from other existing costumes. Like, there are 400 million Spider-Man costumes. Do not make two that look the same.
So
slightly.
I disagree with you there. I think that like there's like legacy shit that's like important that's based on like popularity of a particular thing. I think though you should put them in an order that allows for the most variety, right? So if you want to put your X-Men in their bright yellow and blues, and then you want to get their black leather old movie outfits, and then you want to go with their, Days of Future Past outfits, make a rotation where you get the unique and the classics kind of out of the way, so that you don't put two back to back that are too similar, right?
Yeah.
But if you're gonna work in shit that is classic, you're gonna have to eventually get those similar ones in, and I think it's fine. Just space them out.
So I think a really good example of both of these is Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 1 has an incredibly varied selection of classic costumes and a bunch of new ones. And then Spider-Man 2, responding to complaints about the costume selection in Spider-Man 1, put in like every single variation of every movie suit, and it takes up like half of all total costumes, and it's fucking terrible.
So
you have like all the Raimi suits and all the Amazing Spider-Man suits all in a row of like 10, and movie nerds and fucking weirdo go, see, I wanted the one with the slightly different black lattice on the red. I'm like, oh my god, who gives a shit, dude?
Well, they do, right? And the reason why, and the problem is that, like, instead of doing what I just described, they've prioritized the MCU. And so Moon Knight has a new outfit that's like hood and cape, and it's a variation of the default, but it's this one from the show. And so when they have it available, it says Marvel Studios Moon Knight with the show logo, or the cap that looks kind of like Chris, you know, like they have like the slight variations there that they want to push as like the priority. Definitely going for variety and uniqueness, I think is the way forward.
I am
with
of
that.
the opinion that on like MOBA rules for costumes is that recolors should be dirt cheap, minor alterations should be half price, and full scale complete model reworks should be full price. So when I see Moon Knight from the MCU, which is really similar to his default, that thing should cost like $2.
So you know what's interesting? What you're describing is essentially the difference between colors and costumes in like a fighting game, but we don't do colors in proper hero shooters, right? The costume is the brand, and that's everything. Yeah. But absolutely, there being color variations would be a big deal here. I think as well, at the very least, the more popular the character, the more you're gonna see all those little subtle variations. Spider-Man is fucking Spider-Man.
It's right? Spider-Man, dude. I don't know if you know, but people care about Spider-Man. I have a big old Spider-Man doll at the house. It's my baby's favorite doll.
Yeah.
He kisses we go, do you want to kiss Spider-Man? And he runs over to his gigantic baby-sized Spider-Man and picks him up and goes, mwah, mwah, mwah.
Bucky's outfits are not going to be as diverse and as numerous as Spider-Man. He's going to get a couple distinct ones. You know?
How many different looks has the Winter Soldier had?
3?
Yeah, here's all 3.
You know? Yeah, so that's just going to be the case with the high-profile characters because there's a ton of money to make there. You know what? If you go to Street Fighter V and look at all those Chun-Li costumes, there's a whole lot of similar overlap in those too.
Yeah, but I need to goon.
I remember one of the mods I saw for DMC5 on PC was we made Dante's coat bright red again. That was it. I'm like, damn. Yeah, okay. Right? I know exactly. I get it. I super get it. I don't, the dark leather is like, I know the realistic look, but don't hate that one. All right, let's take one over here from let's see, no name given. King Plant says, hello, Fortress Ultra Monsters. Was talking to my friends about an MMO we play with terrible acronyms. Combat power, abbreviated to CP, determines your ratioing, which can increase by training your EI resonance points, aka ERP. So you must ERP to get CP. What are the worst acronyms you've heard in games or in general?
CP is the worst.
Completion points in Yakuza are
every
the
single game
worst.
Every single game that uses the acronym CP needs to stop.
Extremely unfortunate with that one. But on just a peeve level, I will never not get upset every time I see Fighting EX Layer abbreviated as Fexel. It's the most infuriating thing.
What do you want it to be?
The original game it was based on was called Fighting Layer. All they had to do was call it Fighting Layer EX, and the acronym.
Yeah, you're right. Flex would have been awesome. Yeah.
The acronym would have been Flex, but instead it's FEXL.
I'm gonna give a shout out to our boys over at Riot, and that 2XKO is still a god awful name, and launching with a terrible roster is distracting from your god awful name. It's still terrible as fuck.
I have started completing in my brain double cross knockout for copium purposes.
Oh yeah,
I'm like, it's double cross knockout.
I saw an interview in which someone said, well, we want people to call it 2X for short, and it's like, it's already an acronym for a
Street Fighter.
Why are you calling it? Why are you short? What the fuck?
Super Turbo Street in Japan is called 2X. Yeah. But that almost made me go, oh, it's deliberate because they're old school fighting game fans and they wanted to hit on that acronym. I think there's a part of it that was like going for that almost. All right, and Proxy Fox says hello.
Oh, hold on, we got somebody who got picked up by Automod for incredibly obvious reasons, because there is a highly customizable model kit girls produced by Koto Bukia, named the Frame Arms Girls.
Oh, dude. Street Fighter Alpha Generations.
Alpha Generations, yeah.
When Street Fighter Alpha the movie came out, there was then a second animated movie called Street Fighter Alpha Generations. We saw that and lost our collective shit for a couple years, actually, because wow, what a bad idea.
Can't talk about it nowadays.
Don't.
But that's the name of it. That's
call
the name.
That thing. Don't do that. That's bad.
Every time you have ever heard anyone on the Best Friends in the Old videos, or me or you recently, that's described it, we literally always call it Alpha Generations.
Street Fighter Alpha Generations. Yep, the Full Armor Gundam is in fact the Full Armor Gundam.
That's true. It is the Full Armor Gundam every time, every single time.
All right, one over here from Proxy Fox who says, no way, Street Fighter Alpha Generations. Hello, Fort Mediocre Mammal.
It's not a good movie either.
No.
The best part of the movie is when he just beats the fucking shit out of Sakura.
Hadoken beams slicing through Akuma's junk while undead Chinese ghost armies attack.
Yeah, well, you know.
A couple of weeks ago, Pat was talking about wyvern milk as a plotline in Monster Hunter Wilds and how much it sounded like they were talking about super-powered monster jizz. Well, in Japanese, the word for cow milk is gyunyu, right? So that's that's what milk is called in Japan. In Monster Hunter Wilds, the Japanese word for wyvern milk is ryunyu.
Oh, okay.
So it's combining the words for dragon and milk, ryu and new. This innocent pun became something that sounds really gross because there's no way to translate the pun into English.
It sounds like shit in
God
English.
damn it.
All the cutscenes sound gross.
That makes so much sense. It's just a cute little pun. Instead of Gyunyu, it's Ryunyu. Any other...
So this batch of emails is stop using the acronym CP. Stop calling things Street Fighter Alpha Generations, and check what types of milks foreign audiences use in their day-to-day lives.
Or at the very least, find out what like milk can mean colloquially or otherwise.
Like they talk to the translation guys and then like, how does this sound? And it's the responsibility of translation guy to go, that sounds like shit. You shouldn't call it that in any language.
It just happens to rhyme. That's great. Yeah. That's great. Well, there you go. Yeah. Do you know any other impossible to translate?
Not off the top of my head,
no. That's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you for clarifying. I now understand.
Gotta get that Wylk.
Wylk. I mean, yeah, sure. That
no Wylks refused, man.